Chapter 3721, The Fearsome Elemental Lich. As the eyes closed, the sky turned dark, and Lin Moyu fell into darkness. The great Taos receded, his powers were sealed, and all his senses disappeared. His soul seemed to enter a truly void space where nothing existed, not even thought. Fortunately, this state lasted only for a brief moment. Light returned, and his senses gradually recovered. What a terrifying ability, Lin Moyu thought, awestruck. The opponent had merely closed their eyes, yet it was enough to render Lin Moyu helpless. If this were an enemy, a single glance could be fatal. Even a powerful great Tao lord like himself would be as insignificant as an ant before such an existence. This reminded Lin Moyu of a scene he had once witnessed, the green-robed old man clapping his hands, causing countless invincible warriors to fall. This is what a true supreme being looks like. Lin Moyu became even more eager to reach such a level of strength one day, surpassing it if possible. At that point, he wouldn't need schemes or plots, his fists alone would be enough. As his vision returned, Lin Moyu saw that several four-armed tribe great Tao lords were still in a daze. With a thought, the thousand paths and myriad images formation restarted, and the giant created by the mirror tree launched another attack. Under the assault, the four-armed tribe's great Tao lords snapped out of their trance, returning to the situation before the great Tao tribulation. Lin Moyu ignored them and looked towards where the great Tao tribulation had appeared. There, a fist-sized, jade-like doll was shining brightly. Having survived the great Tao tribulation, its existence was now recognized. However, Lin Moyu couldn't sense any information from it, unlike before when he could clearly perceive the elemental lich's data in his mind. Despite this, Lin Moyu still felt a connection to it, knowing it was his elemental lich and that he had absolute control over it. This strange feeling was likely due to the special material used. The elemental lich flew before Lin Moyu, trailing a long, glowing tail, and let out a clear, playful laugh. In the laughter, the elemental lich's voice suddenly echoed in Lin Moyu's soul, "Master, Master, I've transcended." The voice was directly from the soul, audible only to Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu was slightly surprised. "You can speak." The elemental lich replied immediately, "I can speak." The previous elemental lich had shown emotions but wasn't yet capable of speech. It had a bit of spiritual intelligence but was far from true wisdom. True wisdom required self-awareness and the ability to think independently. Lin Moyu asked, "What's your name?" The elemental lich responded, "I was just born and don't have a name yet." "Master, please give me one." Not only could it speak, but it didn't even pout or act cute. This was good, as this innate spiritual intelligence was far better than using the world fruit to awaken it. Lin Moyu smiled. "Tell me, what abilities do you have?" The elemental lich waved its fist. "My ability is the sword." As it spoke, its fist transformed, growing a sharp sword tip. Then, its entire body changed into a slender sword, less than a meter long, emitting a sharp aura. Lin Moyu grasped it, and a hum filled the air as a great Tao appeared behind him. The great Tao was filled with countless floating swords. Lin Moyu was amazed. "The sword great Tao. You've inherited the abilities of the sword great Tao." Previously, there was the five elements sword lich, which also inherited the sword great Tao's abilities. However, Lin Moyu felt a difference between them. Lin Moyu realized that the sword great Tao hadn't entered the origin ancestral land, meaning it couldn't radiate throughout the soul void. It could only be effective in worlds that possessed the sword great Tao. But now, the great Tao behind him was clearly the sword great Tao. This meant it might not have originated from any specific world, possibly coming from the origin ancestral land itself. Lin Moyu felt he could fully control the sword great Tao through the elemental lich, though this control was slightly different from his own. He didn't need to comprehend or understand the sword great Tao, he could control it entirely through the elemental lich. The sword vibrated slightly, and the elemental lich's clear laughter echoed in Lin Moyu's soul. "Master, I'm amazing. I can control this great Tao." Lin Moyu nodded. "Very impressive. Let's see how strong you are. Attack that guy with the new sword." Lin Moyu targeted one of the four-armed tribe's great Tao lords, the one holding a replicated void suppression pagoda. He was currently battling a wooden warrior, whose strength was slightly inferior, allowing him only to entangle without gaining the upper hand. The elemental lich said, "My power can only be fully unleashed when used by the master. If I act alone, I can only use 70% of it." Lin Moyu thought for a moment. 70% is enough, cut him down. Understood. The elemental lich shouted happily and shot out of Lin Moyu's hand, flying towards the great Tao Lord. A brilliant sword light flashed, and a massive sword appeared in the void, slicing through it as if opening the heavens. The great Tao's power surged wildly, creating countless fissures in the virtual space. The wooden warrior quickly retreated, clearing the battlefield. The sword Great Tao locked onto the opponent, making it impossible for even a Great Tao Lord to escape. The four-armed tribe Great Tao Lord screamed, throwing out the replicated void suppression pagoda to block the sword light. The pagoda expanded rapidly but was cut through like tofu, unable to withstand the sword. Impossible, the Great Tao Lord shouted, unleashing all his power and throwing out two more virtual class treasures. However, these treasures only weakened the sword light slightly. The elemental lich cried out, "I'll cut you down." The voice was clear and childlike, contrasting sharply with the intense situation. Unfortunately, only Lin Moyu could hear it, making him stifle a laugh. The four-armed tribe Great Tao Lord screamed, retreating while continuously throwing out treasures. Treasures are indeed plentiful, Lin Moyu muttered to himself. It seemed the four-armed tribe was skilled at crafting, able to produce so many primordial virtual treasures. One by one, the treasures were sliced apart until the sword light pierced through the Great Tao Lord. The Great Tao Lord's screams filled the air as he was sliced and sent flying tens of thousands of miles, his soul severely damaged. He didn't look back and fled. Lin Moyu thought, "Don't let him escape, kill him." The elemental lich giggled, "He can't escape." Saying this, the elemental lich transformed into a sword light and chased after the Great Tao Lord at a speed faster than his. If nothing unexpected happened, the four-armed tribe Great Tao Lord wouldn't be able to escape. Lin Moyu thought about the previous sword strike. Very strong, but this isn't the strongest yet. Where does his sword Great Tao come from? It doesn't seem to be from the origin ancestral land. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3722, 3722. Chapter 3722, Replicating the Great Tao. Lin Moyu pondered the relationship between the origin ancestral land and the myriad worlds, as well as the specific situation within the origin ancestral land. He had entered the origin ancestral land before and knew what it was like inside. He understood how the Great Taos manifested as existences and how their projections were obtained in various worlds. Additionally, there was the return to origin land, where the Great Taos were reflected across the entire soul void. After analyzing and eliminating various possibilities, Lin Moyu finally understood the situation with the elemental lich's Great Tao. It wasn't a projection, nor was it the true body of the Great Tao. Instead, it was a replica of the Great Tao's true body. The elemental lich had replicated the true body of the Great Tao from the origin ancestral land. This explained why it displayed such incredibly powerful Great Tao abilities. It could also ignore the relationship between the Great Taos and their projections in the soul void because, in a way, it was the Great Tao itself. Lin Moyu chuckled self-deprecatingly. "I thought I understood the elemental lich's true use, but I didn't expect such a huge surprise. It replicated the true body of the Great Tao, no wonder it attracted the Great Tao tribulation. It's truly too heaven-defying. If so, with the right materials, I could replicate various Great Taos. Perhaps I could even build my own origin ancestral land. But if I were to bring these Great Taos back to the multiverse, the Great Taos of the multiverse would be directly destroyed." Lin Moyu felt his thoughts were overly ambitious. The multiverse needed Great Taos that evolved naturally, allowing it to absorb some external Great Taos but not be completely replaced by them. Otherwise, his world wouldn't remain independent. Boom! Suddenly, a thunderclap echoed from the depths of the void, and the virtual space cracked open with flashing lights. Lin Moyu heard a cry of pain and felt a surge of tension. The elemental lich had been struck by lightning again. This lightning was even stronger than the one during the Great Tao tribulation. The long sword transformed from the elemental lich flew back, still carrying residual lightning. It didn't seem very stable as it returned. After returning, the elemental lich transformed back into a doll form. The lightning hadn't dissipated and continued to crackle on its surface. Lin Moyu asked, "What happened?" The elemental lich replied with a hint of grievance, "Master told me to kill that guy, so I did. Then this lightning came. There was someone very powerful who warned me not to kill Great Tao Lords indiscriminately. I can only kill them occasionally." Lin Moyu immediately thought of the owner of the eyes from the Great Tao tribulation. It was likely them who sent the warning. The elemental lich was too heaven-defying, disrupting the balance. It could easily kill great Tao lords, making Lin Moyu nearly invincible in the soul void and possibly even in the real world. Such an existence, even after surviving the Great Tao tribulation, would still be monitored by the Great Taos and not allowed to do anything too outrageous. This was the balance of the Great Taos of heaven and earth. If this balance couldn't be maintained, the entire universe might collapse. Lin Moyu said, "In that case, you should refrain from acting for now." The elemental lich replied with some resentment, "Okay, I won't act for now. But once this lightning dissipates, I can act again." It seemed quite optimistic, laughing after a moment, "Master, you haven't given me a name yet." Lin Moyu thought for a moment, "Let's call you Sword Tao Lich." It had replicated the true body of the Sword Great Tao, possessing everything the Sword Great Tao had. In a way, it was the Sword Great Tao itself, making the name fitting. Sword Tao Lich, yes, yes. I have a name now, Sword Tao Lich. It was delighted, jumping up and down. The name clearly pleased it. When not transformed into a sword, it was a cute, doll-like creature. However, once it acted, it became the most terrifying killer god, capable of slicing through Great Tao lords with the Sword Great Tao. Lin Moyu put away the Sword Tao Lich and continued to observe Siju and the others. They were still trapped, unable to escape the Thousand Paths and Myriad Images formation. Lin Moyu's methods were too numerous, leaving them despairing. As they struggled, Lin Moyu would eventually target the rest of their tribe. Everyone would be in danger. This can't go on. Siju made a decision, his eyes filled with determination. Enduring the pain from the world-burning fire, Siju's aura surged wildly. His power exploded, finally breaking through the Thousand Paths and Myriad Images formation. At the same time, a Great Tao appeared, and in the next moment, his soul exploded along with the Great Tao. "Escape, quickly escape." Siju's voice echoed through the void as he detonated his own Great Tao, scattering his soul. This was his final act of dignity, leaving behind a message for his tribe to flee. Lin Moyu couldn't stop this. The Thousand Paths and Myriad Images formation was blasted with a large hole, but it wasn't significant damage for the formation. The other 5 Great Tao lords remained trapped. Suddenly, another Great Tao appeared. Boom! The Thousand Paths and Myriad Images formation was blasted with another massive hole. Another 4-armed tribe Great Tao Lord detonated their own Great Tao, leaving behind a final message in the void. Escape quickly. 2 Great Tao Lords had detonated themselves, simply to tell their companions to flee. This act earned Lin Moyu's respect. Although they were enemies in a life-or-death struggle, their spirit was admirable. The 3-headed, 6-armed warrior avatar suddenly turned and left the battlefield. They really listen. Lin Moyu didn't chase after them. The Great Tao Lords wanted to escape, and he couldn't catch up. However, he couldn't do nothing. He took out a primordial virtual treasure, a jade-like disc. A few drops of transparent water appeared on the disc and flew out, heading towards the escaping Great Tao Lords. The water droplets moved extremely fast, seemingly able to traverse the void. They attached silently to the Great Tao Lords and quickly dissolved, leaving invisible marks on their souls. The Great Tao Lords didn't notice the marks. The disc revealed their general direction, and Lin Moyu muttered to himself, "This way, I can find their lair." Lin Moyu didn't just kill Great Tao Lords that wouldn't benefit him. He wanted the entire world of the 4-armed tribe. Since the 4-armed tribe's Great Tao Lords had tried to kill him, a cause-and-effect relationship had been established. Ultimately, either he would die, or the 4-armed tribe's world would be destroyed. In this aspect, Lin Moyu was ruthless when slaughtering countless tribes. He never showed mercy, knowing that a little kindness might lead to disaster. Either he wouldn't act, or if he did, he would ensure a clean kill. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3723, 3723. Chapter 3723, The Crow's Mouth. Lin Moyu's past experiences had long made him heartless, burying any sympathy deep within. He didn't need it unless necessary. A large number of divine runes flew out, repairing the holes blasted in the Thousand Paths and Myriad Images formation. 2 Great Tao Lords had detonated their Great Taos, destroying nearly a third of the formation, but it didn't affect the remaining parts. Lin Moyu realized the limit of the Thousand Paths and Myriad Images formation. If 5 great Tao Lords simultaneously self-destructed, it could be destroyed. However, the probability of this happening was low. Just as this thought arose, 4 great Taos appeared in succession. Lin Moyu's expression changed abruptly, and he quickly retreated. The soul-shaking mountain and void suppression pagoda expanded rapidly to block the front. The remaining 4 great Tao Lords in the Thousand Paths and Myriad Images formation simultaneously detonated their great Taos. The 4 armed tribes' unique communication method allowed them to coordinate this action without Lin Moyu intercepting it. Boom! The 4 great Taos exploded together, tearing apart the Thousand Paths and Myriad Images formation. The massive power ripped through the virtual space, creating numerous fissures. The void suppression pagoda and soul-shaking mountain were pushed back by the force, colliding with Lin Moyu and causing him to retreat. The small python beneath him let out pained cries as its soul scattered, severely injured in an instant. Lin Moyu wasn't afraid if his soul shattered, he could be reborn. However, if the small python's soul was destroyed, it would truly die. The impact continued, and the small python's soul was nearly shattered. A spiritual flower flew out and quickly bloomed, enveloping the small python. Lin Moyu opened his storage space and stored the small python inside. The soul-shaking mountain had numerous cracks, and the void suppression pagoda wasn't in good condition either. Both treasures had absorbed over 70% of the impact. Lin Moyu didn't know how far he was blown away before his soul partially shattered. Seeing his broken state, Lin Moyu chuckled and deliberately shattered his own soul. In a purple light, Lin Moyu was reborn. It was easier to start anew rather than waste time healing. Lin Moyu sighed. Great Tao Lords are indeed hard to kill. Previously, with the third ancestor's help, they didn't have the chance to self-destruct. I underestimated them. The 2 primordial virtual treasures were damaged but could recover with the chaos mist. As long as they weren't fundamentally damaged, they could heal themselves. Lin Moyu took out the spiritual flower, and the small python was still recovering inside. As long as it wasn't completely dead, it was fine. Lin Moyu flew back, and the Thousand Paths and Myriad Images formation was completely torn apart, leaving only some broken runes glowing. Lin Moyu joked with himself, does this count as a crow's mouth? I just thought about it, and it happened. With a surge of soul power, runes flew out to repair the Thousand Paths and Myriad Images formation. Regardless, the Thousand Paths and Myriad Images formation was still useful for trapping Great Tao Lords. However, if it faced an origin Great Tao Lord like the third ancestor, there was a chance it could be broken. Lin Moyu considered enhancing the Thousand Paths and Myriad Images formation further but realized that its current state was his limit. To improve it, he needed a new understanding of the Great Taos and stronger array eyes. Primordial virtual treasures weren't enough, he needed something more powerful, like the primordial origin virtual treasures held by the Great Domain Emperor. However, this was just a fantasy. Repairing the Thousand Paths and Myriad Images formation wasn't a small task and required a lot of time. During this time, Lin Moyu used 2 spiritual flowers to heal the small python. The recovered small python still looked frightened, having nearly died earlier. It seemed to have a lot to say but held back, seeing Lin Moyu repairing the formation. Finally, the Thousand Paths and Myriad Images formation was fully restored, though it needed time to accumulate Great Tao power. Lin Moyu sat back on the small python's head. Were you scared to death earlier? The small python spoke with a choked voice. Scared to death, almost died, and couldn't serve master anymore. Lin Moyu chuckled. Don't worry, you won't die. He took out a soul refining furnace and immediately refined a batch of virtual soul pills. The small python's eyes lit up, and it devoured the pills eagerly. Lin Moyu tossed it a handful. These are for you. If you perform well, there will be more. The small python exclaimed. Master is the best. I'll die for master without hesitation. Lin Moyu laughed. Where did you learn that phrase? The small python replied. From master's friends. During conversations with the third ancestor and others, the small python had learned a lot by listening. Once the Thousand Paths and Myriad Images formation had absorbed enough Great Tao power, Lin Moyu used the void sealing rune to store it away. He then took out the jade disc with a missing corner. 3 light points appeared on the disc, each representing a 4-armed tribe Great Tao Lord. Although they had scattered and escaped, they had now regrouped. None of them noticed the invisible marks left on their souls. These marks were magical, undetectable even by Great Tao Lords, similar to those on the soul refining furnace. Lin Moyu thought that perhaps only pure virtual beasts could sense these marks, as he was just a soul body, different from them. However, what mattered was that he could use these marks with the primordial virtual treasures. A spark of fire flew out, and the small python followed closely. They traversed through layers of chaotic mist, and the small python absorbed the virtual soul pills, growing stronger. Some weak virtual beasts sensed its aura and avoided it. Lin Moyu thought that if he fed the small python more virtual soul pills, it might become a second-tier soul beast. Is it the small python's talent or the effect of the virtual soul pills? Lin Moyu wondered. The small python's cultivation speed was unusually fast, surpassing most virtual beasts. It also had a strong spiritual intelligence from the start, different from many others. Lin Moyu couldn't help but wonder about the small python's origins. After flying for several days and crossing a vacuum zone, they entered another small spiritual domain. A world finally appeared in sight. Lin Moyu narrowed his eyes. This world seems a bit strange. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3724, 3724. Chapter 3724, A World with Spiritual Intelligence. The world before Lin Moyu was unlike any he had seen. Accurately speaking, its shape was peculiar, resembling a six-armed giant. This was similar to the three-headed, six-armed giant he had encountered earlier, which was the four-armed tribe's war god and their ability. Strange, how did this world become like this? Lin Moyu couldn't understand at first. He signaled the small python to approach cautiously, feeling something was off. As they drew closer, his sense of vigilance grew stronger. Suddenly, a chill ran through his soul, and without hesitation, Lin Moyu shouted, "Retreat!" The small python reacted quickly, retreating swiftly. As they pulled back, the world suddenly moved. Lin Moyu felt a massive force locking onto him. A giant virtual shadow appeared outside the world's barrier, transforming into a six-armed giant. One of its large hands slapped towards Lin Moyu. Thanks to his early warning, the small python retreated just in time, and the hand missed by a hair's breadth. However, the terrifying aftermath of the slap still hit them, sending the small python flying. Its recently recovered soul began to shatter again. Grey mist erupted from Lin Moyu's body as the immortality Great Tao surged, combining with the power Great Tao to form a shield against the impact. A giant appeared before Lin Moyu, punching out to counter the force. The six-armed giant swung its hand again, this time extending it forward to collide with Lin Moyu's giant. With a loud crash, Lin Moyu's giant shattered, unable to resist. Another powerful impact came, and the small python retreated further, its soul severely damaged. Lin Moyu fully activated the immortality Great Tao, accompanied by the power Great Tao, to resist the impact. He shouted, "Stop crying." The small python immediately closed its mouth, too afraid to make another sound. The six-armed giant ceased its attacks after 2 strikes. The small python finally stopped retreating after being blown back millions of miles. Lin Moyu's gaze turned icy as he looked at the four-armed tribe's world. He popped out a spiritual flower and said, "Enter." The small python's soul was on the verge of collapse, and it quickly dove into the flower. When the giant appeared, Lin Moyu sensed a power not belonging to a great Tao Lord, accompanied by a formidable will. This will was powerful, cold, ruthless, and filled with ferocity, unlike anything Lin Moyu had ever seen. The will of this world has gained spiritual intelligence, Lin Moyu instinctively thought, but then shook his head. Not quite, it's more like this world's will has just begun to develop spiritual intelligence, still in its infancy. So, the world's shape changed, but how did this spiritual intelligence emerge? That's interesting. In the small spiritual domains, finding worlds was already difficult, and encountering one with emerging spiritual intelligence was even rarer. Previously, none of the dozens of worlds he encountered had developed spiritual intelligence. Only the Origin Continent, the Black Blood Realm, and the Heavenly God Realm were known to have worlds with spiritual intelligence. This world's spiritual intelligence was newly born and incomplete, like a baby. It would attack any non-native life forms that approached. Originally, I wanted to try the weaker world will of the Cold Water Realm, but I found an even weaker one here. Perfect, let's see how far this newly born spiritual intelligence can go. Lin Moyu decided to use the four-armed tribe's world for practice. Earlier, he had felt the power of the world's will, which was far beyond his capabilities in terms of absolute power. The world's will could gather the power of countless lives and great Taos. Faced with an entire world, even an origin great Tao Lord would seem powerless unless the true body of the great Tao Lord was present. Even then, the outcome would be uncertain. In the past, during the origin catastrophe, the enemies of the world's will were the spiritually intelligent world wills from the Black Blood realm and the Heavenly God realm. This showed that to deal with a spiritually intelligent world will, one needed another world will with spiritual intelligence. Lin Moyu thought about how to counter it. In the soul void, the world's will can manifest physically. In the real world, it might appear in a different form, which is currently unknown. Perhaps I can learn more from this one. Lin Moyu knew he had to defeat the world's will to get answers. His power is not something I can confront directly. I mustn't get too close. The world can move, but it requires the cooperation of all great Tao Lords within it and prior preparation. His spiritual intelligence is newly born, and his form is unstable. For now, he should be unable to move. So, let's exploit this weakness. Lin Moyu thought about his methods. Facing a massive, formless entity like the world's will, using the catastrophic scepter wouldn't work. The best approach was to use formations. This formation would be the largest he had ever set up. Maintaining its integrity while withstanding the opponent's attacks would be extremely challenging. Lin Moyu carefully planned, realizing that with his current abilities, he couldn't cover the entire world with a formation. Feeling the great Tao power flowing from all directions in the soul void, he got an idea: use the Thousand Paths and Myriad Images formation as the base, with different images forming a giant. Since he can't move, I'll keep testing him, seeing where his limits are and if I can weaken him. Lin Moyu retreated further, creating a distance of millions of kilometers from the Four-Armed Tribe's world. He then began to draw a divine canopy. Divine runes flashed in the soul void as Lin Moyu's soul power surged wildly. This formation was different from his previous ones. Lin Moyu knew he had to use all his knowledge to gain a chance to confront the world's will directly. The number of divine runes grew, with tens of thousands not being enough. Countless runes combined in the void, forming a powerful formation. The formations merged, creating a complex structure where each was part of the other. Lin Moyu's understanding of formations improved during this process. He realized his comprehension of divine runes was still insufficient. The small python watched, bewildered, unable to understand what its master was doing. It only knew that Lin Moyu was creating something terrifying. Time passed, and after an unknown period, a massive formation slowly took shape. Fire is limbs, earth is skull, wood is body, water is soul, metal is blade. The formation is complete. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3725, 3725. Chapter 3725, Not Strong Enough. As Lin Moyu gave the order, a giant with the attributes of the 5 elements appeared in the soul void. The giant's 4 legs were ablaze with fire, embodying the fire great Tao. Its head was formed from the earth great Tao, its body from the wood great Tao, and water flowed through its internal channels, representing the water great Tao. Its weapon was a long spear made from the metal great Tao. The 5 elements were interdependent, amplifying each other's power and unleashing the full potential of the elemental forces. The terrifying aura emanating from the giant shook the void, dispersing the chaotic mist within a radius of millions of miles. Countless nearby virtual beasts fled in fear. Although this formation was based on the Thousand Paths and Myriad Images formation, Lin Moyu didn't use all the Great Tao's power. He only employed the 5 elemental Great Tao's metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, which were the most common in the soul void. The Four-Armed Tribe's world also possessed these elemental forces, allowing the 5-element giant to exert its full strength. Because only the 5 elemental forces were used, the formation's structure was simpler and more stable. The small python asked, "Master, will this giant work?" Lin Moyu replied, "We'll know after trying." He opened his storage space and brought out Xiao Shang, the spirit of the questioning fruit mirror. After the mirror's destruction, Lin Moyu had stored Xiao Shang away. Xiao Shang respectfully greeted Lin Moyu, ready to receive orders. Lin Moyu instructed Xiao Shang to test whether it could control the 5-element giant. As an artifact spirit, Xiao Shang was somewhat different from Information Spirit, but they shared commonalities. Lin Moyu had considered this when setting up the formation. The Water Great Tao was inclusive and had a strong capacity for containment. Xiaoshang entered the five-element giant and merged with the Water Great Tao. The previously still giant began to move, initially slowly but gaining speed and agility over time. Xiaoshang excitedly reported, "Master, it's working." Having been an artifact spirit for countless years, controlling the five-element giant was like gaining limbs for Xiaoshang, making it feel alive. Lin Moyu dropped the world-burning fire onto a long bench formed by the giant. The formation and the fire both bore Lin Moyu's aura, so there was no conflict between them. With the world-burning fire's enhancement, the giant's spear became even more powerful and fierce. Lin Moyu pointed towards the four-armed tribe's world. "Go, take it down." "Understood," Xiaoshang exclaimed, controlling the five-element giant to charge forward. As it approached the four-armed tribe's world, the world's will activated, manifesting a six-armed giant. The six-armed giant slapped wildly, and Xiaoshang, filled with excitement, swung the spear to meet it. The two giants clashed, their impacts echoing like thunder through the void. The aftermath of their battle created an absolute domain, making it difficult even for great Tao lords to approach. Despite Lin Moyu's best efforts, the five-element giant gradually fell behind. This was within Lin Moyu's expectations. He never thought the five-element giant could defeat an entire world. Even with nascent spiritual intelligence, the world's will was too powerful for a mere formation to match. The purpose of this battle was to understand the world's will. Lin Moyu gradually grasped the world's will's strength. A spiritually intelligent world will could gather the power of the entire world. Any living being within the world, whether willing or not, would have their power utilized by the world's will. Therefore, to confront the world's will, one must first leave the world. Both the physical body and soul had to depart. It was futile to try to oppose the world's will while still within it. As for destroying the world from within, it seemed unrealistic given the current situation. The world's will of the origin continent would certainly be much stronger and more difficult to handle. Lin Moyu muttered to himself, "My previous thoughts were correct. The best way to deal with the world's will is to use another world's will. The plan remains feasible, but the difficulty is not small. I hope my luck improves. I should make some arrangements on the origin continent, but evading the world's will's surveillance will be challenging. If I'm not mistaken, the Lord of Hell was killed by the world's will, but it wasn't the world's will itself that acted. Instead, it was a powerful being left over from the previous era. This is something I must guard against. The Lord of Hell was very strong, and whoever could kill him must be equally powerful." However, upon reflection, the Lord of Hell's existence had threatened the world's will, reaching a peak that necessitated the world's will to intervene. This meant that the agents sent by the world's will wouldn't be stronger than the Lord of Hell. On the origin continent, the Lord of Hell would certainly face suppression from the world's will, and how much of his strength he could exert was unknown. So, the Lord of Hell died with a sense of injustice and frustration. Lin Moyu wondered how many powerful beings from the previous era remained, a matter that required consideration. In this moment, Lin Moyu realized that a battle with the world's will was inevitable. The same applied to the third ancestor and others. Unless they were willing to become the world's will's puppets, they would have to fight. Both sides were justified, but only one could survive. There was no choice. Through this battle, Lin Moyu gained a deeper understanding of things he previously didn't comprehend, and his Tao heart became more resolute. Xiaoshang controlled the five-element giant, striking the six-armed giant repeatedly with the spear. The world-burning fire ignited the six-armed giant, but its effect was minimal. The six-armed giant ignored the world-burning fire, even when its entire body was engulfed. The fire couldn't truly burn into the world, being blocked by the world's barrier. This made Lin Moyu realize that the world-burning fire wasn't strong enough. Unless it could directly burn the world's core, it wouldn't have a significant impact, not even being able to breach the world's barrier. I still need to find a way to enhance the world-burning fire. It's not useless, it's just not strong enough yet. My formations also need to be strengthened. If the plan works, I might not need the formations, but if it fails, they can serve as a backup. My cultivation realm must also continue to improve. The realm is the foundation of everything. Lin Moyu thought of the discernment beast and sent a mental message to Xiaoshang, "Return, there's no need to fight anymore." ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3726, 3726. Chapter 3726, Not Deceived. The five-element giant controlled by Xiao Shang couldn't defeat the four-armed tribe's world will, but it had one advantage: it could move freely. When it retreated, the four-armed tribe's world will could only watch helplessly. Xiao Shang was still excited. "Master, I fought pretty well." Lin Moyu praised. "Not bad." He noticed that the formation on the giant had partially collapsed. The formation structure was similar to the Thousand Paths and Myriad Images formation, with the five-element giant composed of over 10,000 small formations. About a tenth of these formations had already broken down. If they continued fighting, the giant might lose limbs. This revealed some weaknesses in Lin Moyu's formations. "The strength of the formations isn't enough. I need to find a way to enhance each individual formation. If I add another layer of defensive formations on the outside, it might be more effective." The five-element giant isn't agile enough. It's fine for dealing with an immobile world will, but it's not very useful against great Tao lords. There aren't enough formation spirits. I need to find more formation spirits or artifact spirits and create more formations. Lin Moyu thought about the artifact spirit in the cloud-piercing sword, which could also be used. However, he decided against using the protective formation from Yudao City. After repairing the five-element giant, Lin Moyu drew a void-sealing divine rune and stored the giant away. He then glanced at the four-armed tribe's world and vanished into the chaotic mist with the small python. Because of the world's will, Lin Moyu couldn't deal with it for now. However, he was in a good mood, having gained valuable experience from this encounter. This experience was more important than destroying a world. He had wanted to visit the Black Blood realm to understand what a world's will was like. Now, he had encountered it in the four-armed tribe's world, gaining a basic understanding. The four-armed tribe's world will was newly born and still in its infancy, weaker than the Black Blood realms. This opportunity was not only valuable but also relatively safe, unlike destroying a world. The small python wondered. "Master, you seem to be in a good mood." Lin Moyu smiled. "Indeed, the gains are considerable." The small python didn't understand why Lin Moyu was happy despite not winning. It wasn't stupid, but there were things it wouldn't comprehend, even if Lin Moyu explained them. The small python asked, "Master, where are we going now?" Lin Moyu replied, "To find the discernment beast. I have some questions for it." Following the direction indicated by the fire line, they flew towards the discernment beast. The journey was long and required a lot of time. Along the way, Lin Moyu thought about his formations, looking for ways to improve them. In the origin continent, things had been quiet recently. The great Tao power was recovering, and soon, even those at the heavenly Tao fifth realm could enter the origin continent. However, after the last incident, the various forces outside the heavens were extremely wary of Lin Moyu and had become more cautious. Moreover, with Antares present in the origin continent, everyone knew to tread carefully. In contrast, the most bustling place was the protective Tao fortress. Some people ignored Lin Moyu's warnings and entered the fortress to repair it. Initially, they were cautious, fearing Lin Moyu might attack suddenly. However, when they realized Lin Moyu was inactive, they became bolder. They understood that the protective Tao fortress was in the outer heavens, and Lin Moyu, tasked with guarding the origin continent, couldn't leave. So, they felt safe. As a result, they became reckless, and the fortress was being restored, with its energy growing stronger. Antares narrowed his eyes. "I remember the Dragon Race, the Hell Alliance, and the 100 Herbs clan. I'll settle with them later." He didn't stop them, believing in Lin Moyu's arrangements. Antares trusted that no matter what those people did, it would be futile. Lin Moyu's abilities were only a fraction of what they had seen. In recent years, several powerful figures like the Question Heaven Tao Lord, the Third Ancestor, the King of the Boundary Sea, and the Beast Emperor had left the origin continent, seemingly to participate in a great Tao competition. This was normal for great Tao lords and didn't raise any suspicions. However, after they left, the forces targeting Lin Moyu became even more brazen. Lin Moyu re-entered the Dragon Lake small spiritual domain and was immediately sensed by the Dragon Lake King. As he entered, the chaotic mist churned, and the Dragon Lake King appeared before him. The Dragon Lake King looked at Lin Moyu with a mixture of fear and dislike. "Why have you come again?" Lin Moyu had taught the Dragon Lake King a lesson before, instilling fear. However, the Dragon Lake King also felt some resentment towards him. Lin Moyu said, "I've come to see the discernment beast." The Dragon Lake King whispered. The discernment beast is currently in a deep sleep and doesn't see outsiders. Lin Moyu smiled. Is that so? Maybe it will wake up just in time. The Dragon Lake King shivered. I'm not lying, it's really asleep. Lin Moyu said. Since I'm here, I'll go take a look. Maybe it will wake up. If it were anyone else, the Dragon Lake King wouldn't have allowed them to pass. However, facing Lin Moyu, it dared not refuse. The Dragon Lake King felt that Lin Moyu seemed even more fearsome than before, capable of killing it easily. The Dragon Lake King suppressed its fear and said, "Follow me, then." It led Lin Moyu, who asked, "Are you guarding the discernment beast?" The Dragon Lake King replied, "It's my duty. The discernment beast isn't someone you can see whenever you want." Lin Moyu continued, "Do many people come to see the discernment beast?" The Dragon Lake King shook its head. "Usually, no one comes. The discernment beast is often asleep." Lin Moyu smiled. "It seems I was lucky last time. What was that period you mentioned?" The Dragon Lake King explained. "It's when the discernment beast sleeps comfortably. During that time, some great domain emperors and powerful small spiritual domain kings will come. They pay a high price hoping to get some answers from the discernment beast." Lin Moyu felt that the Dragon Lake King was like a small pet kept by the discernment beast to guard the door. Soon, they flew out of the Dragon Lake small spiritual domain and saw the unique island belonging to the discernment beast. From afar, Lin Moyu sensed a peculiar aura similar to the materials used to summon the Sword Dao demon. The door to the hut was closed, but it couldn't block the aura. Lin Moyu called out loudly, "Lin Moyu has come to visit. May I see you, senior?" ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3727, 3727. Chapter 3727, Behind the Discernment Beast. After Lin Moyu called out, there was no response from the hut. The Dragon Lake King said, "I didn't deceive you, the discernment beast is truly asleep." Lin Moyu spoke again. "Lin Moyu has come to visit. Please see me, senior discernment beast." In the eyes of the undead, the discernment beast's soul flame was pulsating in a peculiar rhythm. When Lin Moyu spoke, the rhythm changed slightly. Lin Moyu knew the discernment beast had heard him. As the Dragon Lake King said, the discernment beast was indeed asleep. It needed time to wake up. The Dragon Lake King suggested, "You should leave and come back another time." Lin Moyu replied, "No need, the discernment beast is already starting to wake up. Just wait a bit longer." The Dragon Lake King clearly didn't believe Lin Moyu. "How do you know?" Lin Moyu smiled. "I can feel it." The Dragon Lake King let out a deep breath. Although it wasn't very intelligent, it could tell Lin Moyu was teasing. "What if your feeling is wrong?" the Dragon Lake King asked. Lin Moyu shook his head. "My feelings won't be wrong." The discernment beast's soul flame pulsed faster, and Lin Moyu sensed numerous invisible consciousnesses gathering from all directions into the discernment beast's soul. "Ah, I see." Lin Moyu suddenly understood. The discernment beast, while asleep, was listening to the multiverse. Its consciousness would enter various worlds to listen to the changes occurring within them. This was how it became all-knowing. Nothing in the universe was a secret to it. When it awakened, all consciousness would return. The discernment beast slept little and woke often because, while listening to the worlds, it was also experiencing countless lives. Over time, its wisdom grew, and its understanding of life deepened. It became all-knowing. Because of this, the discernment beast never sought transcendence, it pursued something else. It had overcome its innate instincts as a virtual beast, which was a form of transcendence in itself. The discernment beast's realm was high, a level Lin Moyu couldn't yet understand. This was normal since they walked different paths. Understanding this, Lin Moyu knew how to proceed with his questions, and his last doubts were resolved. The discernment beast's soul flame pulsed faster, and it finally awakened. The door to the hut opened, and the discernment beast emerged. The Dragon Lake King watched in amazement. This had never happened before. The discernment beast looked at Lin Moyu. "Lin Dao friend, you're well." It showed no anger, even though its sleep had been disturbed. Lin Moyu bowed. "Senior is well. I have some matters to discuss with you, and I didn't mean to disturb your sleep." The discernment beast chuckled. "No need to worry, I've slept for countless years, missing one more sleep doesn't matter. Since you have questions, come and ask." It glanced at the Dragon Lake King. "Little dragon, you may withdraw." The Dragon Lake King immediately bowed and retreated. Lin Moyu flew over, and the small python, being intelligent, retreated far into the chaotic mist until it disappeared. The space became unusually quiet, with only the discernment beast and Lin Moyu present. The discernment beast said, "Ask your questions, Lin Dao friend. If I can answer, I'll do so for a suitable price." Lin Moyu replied, "You should know about the world I'm in. Its world will has developed spiritual intelligence. I want to know more about it." The discernment beast's eyes narrowed slightly. "Your question is quite demanding. It seems like one question, but it contains countless pieces of information. Even breaking it down into 10 questions wouldn't be excessive." Lin Moyu smiled. "Consider it 10 or 20 questions, and I won't be stingy if I have the means." The discernment beast's eyes moved. "All right, then give me 10 spiritual flowers, 10 fruits, 100 leaves, and 100 kilograms of tree sap." Hearing the discernment beast's price, Lin Moyu was taken aback. Honestly, the price wasn't high for him, it was almost negligible. However, he found it strange that the discernment beast knew about the spiritual flowers and tree sap. Lin Moyu had shown the spiritual flowers before and had used them for others, so it was natural that the discernment beast would know. But how did it know about the world fruits and leaves, which Lin Moyu had never used or mentioned? Lin Moyu suddenly realized that the discernment beast didn't know about the world fruits and leaves itself. Someone must have told it, and it was asking for these things on behalf of that person. Who wants these things but doesn't dare ask directly and instead uses the discernment beast as a mouthpiece? Lin Moyu thought. It's not the green-robed old man, it must be him, Lin Moyu concluded, recalling his previous conversation with the discernment beast. Lin Moyu had a moment of clarity, feeling as though everything was connected. The place he had seen while crossing the other shore realm was the same as the place he entered in the origin ancestral land. Each time, he only saw a part of it, not the whole. The master of that place was the white-robed old man who had given him the ancestral water essence. Last time, when mentioning the ancestral water, the discernment beast's reaction seemed strange. Now, Lin Moyu realized that the discernment beast's request for spiritual flowers was actually at the white-robed old man's behest. The same applied to the current request. If it were the green-robed old man, he would have asked directly. As for why the white-robed old man wanted these things, Lin Moyu had no idea. The discernment beast noticed Lin Moyu's silence and asked, "Can you fulfill these requests, Lin Dao friend?" Lin Moyu decided to probe further. "What does the white-robed senior want these things for?" The discernment beast looked at Lin Moyu with a puzzled expression. "What white-robed senior?" It seemed to feign ignorance, but this only made Lin Moyu more certain. When the discernment beast mentioned the white-robed senior, its tone carried a hint of respect. Although this change was very subtle, Lin Moyu caught it. Lin Moyu had his answer but didn't reveal it. "I misspoke. The items you requested are no problem." He handed over the requested items, which were insignificant to him. The discernment beast smiled and accepted them, then calmly said, "You're right, the world will in your world has indeed developed spiritual intelligence, and it's a malicious will." Malicious will? Lin Moyu had never heard this term before. Does that mean world wills can be categorized? The discernment beast chuckled. "Of course. I'll explain slowly. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up, go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3728. 3728. Chapter 3728. The Distortion of Yin and Yang. The discernment beast, existing for an unknown length of time and possessing the ability to listen to the myriad worlds, had witnessed countless evolutions across all realms as if seeing them firsthand. It knew far too many things, like a grand overseer of the myriad worlds. Through its description, Lin Moyu finally gained a clear understanding of world wills. There are countless worlds in the universe, far more than 10,000 or even millions. New worlds are constantly born while old ones perish. Some worlds can exist for long periods, while others face destruction. Every world has a world will, born with the world and dying with it. Initially, world wills only have instincts, without spiritual intelligence. However, as time passes and the number of living beings in a world increases, their collective wisdom accumulates. When it reaches a certain level, the world will has a chance to develop spiritual intelligence. Although it seems natural for a world will to develop intelligence, it is actually extremely difficult. It requires a combination of time, quantity, luck, and various other factors. Missing any one of these makes it impossible. Time alone is measured in billions of years. During such a long period, anything can happen, and accidents are everywhere. Not only must the number of living beings reach a certain level, but their quality must also be high. Moreover, the most important factor is luck. Among all these living beings, none should complete transcendence to become the world's master. If any being breaks through the limits and becomes the world's master before the world will develops intelligence, then the world will has no chance. The world's master becomes the supreme existence of the entire world and won't allow the world will to develop intelligence. Additionally, during this process, no beings from other worlds should interfere. If strong beings from other worlds conquer or destroy the world, that's also a normal occurrence. Only when all these conditions are met can a world will successfully develop intelligence. Depending on the structure of each world and the different living beings within it, world wills are influenced and divided into two categories: evil wills and chaotic wills. Evil wills are extremely selfish. To achieve their ultimate goal, they can bury the living beings in the world and treat the entire world as their tool. Chaotic wills are sometimes good and sometimes evil. They have no purpose, alternating between normal and insane. When they go insane, the entire world suffers. Among all world wills that have developed intelligence, 90% are evil wills, and 10% are chaotic wills. Lin Moyu was puzzled. Everything has yin and yang. If there are evil wills, there should also be good wills. The discernment beast chuckled. Lin Dao friend is not wrong. A very long time ago, good wills did exist, but later they disappeared. Lin Moyu immediately asked, what happened to those worlds with good wills? The discernment beast replied, they all became evil wills. Yin and yang were distorted. Most of the former good wills became evil wills, with a very small number becoming chaotic wills, alternating between good and evil in a state of chaos. Lin Moyu was amazed that yin and yang could be distorted, affecting the good and evil nature of world wills. What level of power could achieve this? Yin and yang are fundamental great Taos of the myriad worlds, yet even they were distorted. Lin Moyu asked, who distorted yin and yang? The discernment beast shook its head. I don't know. This question is something you'll have to explore yourself. The discernment beast wasn't refusing to answer, it truly didn't know. The level was too high, beyond its comprehension. Lin Moyu asked, what do these evil wills want to do? The discernment beast smiled. What else but the same as you cultivators, to achieve eternal existence. You become great Tao lords, engage in great Tao contests, wanting to become true body great Tao lords and enter the returning origin land. Virtual beasts become small spirit domain kings, wanting to enter the real world and achieve transcendence. In essence, both are pursuing eternal existence. World wills are the same. They have life and can die, so they also want eternal existence. However, it's much more difficult for them to achieve eternal existence because they are born too powerful. The more powerful one's origin, the harder it is to reach the pinnacle. This is a universal truth you should understand. Lin Moyu indeed understood. From the great Tao realm onwards, cultivators could achieve immortality, provided there were no disasters or calamities. But whether great Tao realm cultivators or great Tao lords, they are all beings within a world. When their world reaches the end of its lifespan and collapses, they cannot survive either. Only true body great Tao lords, who have entered the origin ancestral land and transcended the world, can truly achieve eternal existence. Virtual beasts entering the real world either become lucky cultivators or, like the Soul Heart King, directly occupy the world will, giving it intelligence, and then gradually grow until achieving eternal existence. Eternal existence is the common pursuit of cultivators, virtual beasts, and even world wills. Compared to cultivators, it's much more complex for world wills to achieve eternal existence. They need to merge with other worlds, perfect their number of great Taos, cultivate enough great Tao lords who obey them, and gather the collective will of these great Tao lords and countless living beings to possibly reach the level of eternal existence. At that time, the world will truly transcends. The discernment beast's voice became low. When a world will completes transcendence and truly achieves eternal existence, it's a disaster for the entire world. All living beings in the world, every blade of grass and tree, will be sacrificed. Only the world's body itself becomes eternal, not the living beings within it. Of course, there are differences among evil wills. Some world wills are not as evil. The world you're in, well, it's indeed a bit more brutal. Lin Moyu was shocked by this cruelty, far beyond his imagination. The entire world, all living beings, every plant and tree had to be sacrificed for the world will to achieve eternal existence. It sounds cruel, but for the world will, it's nothing. It's the world will everything in the world is viewed as insignificant as ants. Why would it care about the life and death of ants? The discernment beast continued, the world you're in is called the origin continent. It has experienced a long history and is an extremely powerful evil will. According to your terms, it has gone through 3 eras. Lin Moyu was startled. 3 eras. The discernment beast nodded. That's right, 3 eras. The first era was when it developed intelligence. At that time, its intelligence had just emerged and wasn't very strong. There were beings in the world who called themselves the insect race. The strongest among them, the mother insect, wanted to become the world's master. That mother insect was very powerful. She led the insect race army to the world's origin, just one step away from controlling the entire world. Unfortunately, she was a step too late. So the world will buried that era, using the countless living beings of that era as nourishment to strengthen itself. After many more years, it accumulated enough power and began to evolve the second era. That era wasn't called the origin continent, it was known as the God-Buddha realm, where the entire world was filled with gods and Buddhas. That world was also very strong. Someone even created a powerful secret method and became the master of a small spirit domain. He wanted to transcend the world and become a true body great Tao Lord, but the world will once again buried that era. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up, go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3729, 3729. Chapter 3729, The Lord of Hell Didn't Die. The Insect Era and the God-Buddha Era. The discernment beast's account made Lin Moyu's previous speculations about the great world more concrete. His guesses were not far off. The insect race and the Buddhist race were both beings nurtured by the origin continent in their respective eras. If the world will had developed intelligence a bit later in the insect era, the world wouldn't have developed as it did later. That mother insect would have likely become the world's master. Unfortunately, the world will gained intelligence at the last moment, changing the outcome. After a great battle, the world will killed the mother insect and buried that era belonging to the insect race. However, as beings it had nurtured itself, the world will didn't completely exterminate the insect race. It left some survivors, keeping them as pets, to serve as a mark of that era. The second era belonged to the Buddhist race. A genius appeared among the Buddhist race who was unwilling to be controlled by the world will and wanted to transcend. As a result, he and the entire Buddhist race were buried by the world will, ending the second era. Similarly, the world will left some survivors as pets. This is the origin of the insect race and Buddhist race. After finishing his explanation, the discernment beast quietly watched Lin Moyu, letting him ponder on his own. Many things are better understood through one's own thoughts than through others' explanations. Lin Moyu organized his thoughts. In the first era, the structure was singular and the numbers were astonishing, with consciousness approaching unity. This was likely a key reason for the world will developing intelligence. In the second era, the structure remained singular, but numbers decreased significantly. Yet it still inevitably produced someone who defied heaven. This shows that a singular structure is not ideal. In the current third era I'm in, the structure has become complex, with many races coexisting. There's constant strife, with each race governing itself, and no one thinks about troubling the world will anymore. Most importantly, in this era, the world will has begun to hide itself. It stays behind the scenes, no longer revealing its existence to others. Everyone knows there's a world will, but they don't know it has intelligence. It even wants to educate the entire world through the hands of the world's child. The discernment beast chuckled. What you say is mostly correct. The world will wants eternal existence and needs enough living beings, but they can be of different races. It also needs enough powerful beings and sufficiently complete great Taos. A multiracial structure actually provides more opportunities. So it secretly launches invasions against other worlds, plundering their fate and great Taos. Lin Moyu said, cultivating powerful beings requires fate. Without enough fate, Tao Lords can't be born and great Taos can't be perfected. I imagine in the current era, the world will has already destroyed quite a few worlds. The discernment beast replied, not too many. Until what you call the origin catastrophe occurred, a total of 12 worlds were devoured, and its great Taos were about 90% complete. Lin Moyu sighed. so it seems it's not far from eternal existence. The discernment beast said, indeed, not far. Among the myriad worlds, those who have achieved this much can be counted on one's fingers. If not for the Black Blood Realm and Heavenly God Realm's joint attack on the Origin continent later, it might have already succeeded. That attack caused it to slumber for a long time, and it hasn't fully recovered even now. Lin Moyu asked. During the Origin catastrophe, a powerful being called the Lord of Hell fell in my world. Do you know who did it? Though he suspected it was the world will's doing, he wasn't clear on the specifics. The discernment beast said, in the first era, besides the mother insect, there were two extremely powerful war insects in the insect race. These two war insects were born from the world, only slightly weaker than the mother insect, and stronger than current Tao lords. Later, when the mother insect was killed, the two war insects had their memories erased and became the world will's subordinates. The Lord of Hell was killed by them. At this point, the discernment beast revealed a hint of mystery. However, the Lord of Hell didn't truly fall. He only died halfway. Only died halfway. Lin Moyu was stunned, clearly not understanding the meaning. What did it mean to only die halfway? He immediately bowed to the discernment beast. Please enlighten me, senior. The discernment beast didn't charge extra, smiling as he said, this matter is known only to me. Back then, that Lord of Hell had a premonition of impending disaster, so he secretly left the Origin continent and created a clone. This clone was special, created by the Lord of Hell through a unique treasure. It had no master-servant relationship with the Lord of Hell, both could exist independently or together. Moreover, they were identical, sharing the same great Tao. Others couldn't distinguish between them, not even the world will. Lin Moyu was shocked. You mean, the one killed by the world will was the Lord of Hell's clone? The discernment beast said. You could say that, but although they shared the great Tao, once separated, their strength was only 60% of their peak. Lin Moyu suddenly understood. No wonder the Lord of Hell fell so easily, and in the end didn't even open the gate of hell. Suddenly, he had another thought. The gate of hell, it's not fake too, is it? The discernment beast smiled even more happily, his mouth stretching to his neck. What do you think? Lin Moyu said. Please don't keep me in suspense, just tell me. The discernment beast said. It's both real and fake. He separated apart from hell and created another hell. Lin Moyu asked curiously, is that enough to deceive the world will? The world will shouldn't be so easily fooled normally, it should be able to see through such deceptions. The discernment beast said. Under normal circumstances, of course it couldn't be deceived. But I have to say the Lord of Hell was lucky. He once opened the gate of hell and obtained a few good things from it. One of these good things could replicate anything, with the effect of confusing the real and fake. Using this item, he separated part of hell and created a half-real, half-fake hell, thus deceiving the world will. Lin Moyu finally understood. So that hell was fake, no wonder the gate of hell never opened. Now everything made sense. Such an earth-shattering secret was described so casually by the discernment beast, showing how different its perspective was. Suddenly, Lin Moyu felt something was off. Wait, although you can listen to the myriad worlds, how do you know so clearly what happened after the Lord of Hell left the world? The discernment beast smiled. You don't think you're the first person to come find me, do you? Lin Moyu slapped his forehead. I see. I'm truly ignorant. The Lord of Hell had also come to find the discernment beast before. It made sense someone as powerful as the Lord of Hell finding the discernment beast was quite normal. Most likely, the idea of creating a clone and deceiving the world will might have come from the discernment beast. Lin Moyu could see the clues from its slightly smug expression. It was almost certainly correct. Then do you know what's behind the gate of hell? The discernment beast's smile turned mysterious, with a hint of playfulness. You want to know? Lin Moyu understood the meaning. Of course I want to know. Name your price. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3730, 3730. Chapter 3730, Primordial Origin Treasure Material. Under Lin Moyu's gaze, the discernment beast slowly shook its head. I don't know. Lin Moyu didn't quite believe it. Senior, do you not want to say, or are you unable to say? The discernment beast said. Don't try to trick me into talking. I really don't know what's behind the gate. After he opened the gate of hell, he nearly died. He was lucky to survive, and also obtained a few good things. Lin Moyu frowned. He's the Lord of Hell, yet he almost died because of the Gate of Hell. The discernment beast said, the Lord of Hell is because of the great Tao. The name, Gate of Hell, was actually given by him. It's a strange treasure, and I don't know where he got it from. After obtaining it, he placed it in his hell world. After countless years of nurturing, it finally gathered enough power for him to open the gate once. It was that opening that allowed him to gain vitality. Lin Moyu was even more confused, but now the Gate of Hell has shattered. The discernment beast said, that strange treasure developed a crack after being used once, and a small fragment fell off. Then he used the treasures obtained from behind the gate, along with the fragment, to replicate Hell, and incidentally also replicated the so-called Gate of Hell. So the Gate of Hell you possess is fake. The real one is still in his hands. Lin Moyu was completely stunned. His repeated enhancements of the skeleton Hell, devouring Hell fragments, were apparently just some fragments split off from the real thing. The reason the Gate of Hell could never fully recover was that it was only a fragment of the original. The Lord of Hell had deceived the world will and everyone else. He had long since fled, his whereabouts unknown. The death of his clone completely erased his existence traces in the origin continent. The current Lord of Hell had become a free man, completely unrestrained. Lin Moyu asked softly, do you know where he is now? At this moment, Lin Moyu was very interested in the Lord of Hell and the Gate of Hell. It was unknown what was behind the Gate of Hell, but that wasn't important. He believed the Lord of Hell wouldn't give up easily. If he could find him, perhaps he could borrow his strength to deal with the origin continent's world will together. But he didn't fully understand what kind of person the Lord of Hell was. He would need to meet him to know. The discernment beast said, I know, but that's another question. 10 spiritual flowers. All right, Lin Moyu immediately tossed out 10 spiritual flowers. The discernment beast happily accepted the flowers. He has already left the Golden Furnace Great Soul domain. He's now in the Green Branch Small Spirit domain of the World Tree Great Spirit domain. According to your origin continent's time, about 100,000 years ago, he successfully occupied a world in the Green Branch Small Spirit domain and became its world master. I know you want to deal with the origin continent's world will, so you want to ally with that guy. It's a good idea. Although he has a bad temper, he's still reasonable. However, going to the World Tree Great Spirit domain isn't easy. You should be mentally prepared. As he spoke, a faint light condensed before the discernment beast, and the chaotic mist formed a transparent jade slip. These are the things to pay attention to when crossing Great Spirit domains. You can take a good look. Lin Moyu accepted the jade slip. Thank you, Senior. I'd like to ask, how can one deal with the world will of the origin continent? The discernment beast was very knowledgeable about world wills, and Lin Moyu believed it must have methods to deal with them. The discernment beast said softly, your question contains a vast amount of information. Dealing with a world will is very difficult, especially the one in your world. It's already extremely powerful. Lin Moyu said, I understand. Please name your price first. Let's see if I can afford it. If I really can't pay, then consider my question unasked. The discernment beast stretched its neck, coming within a meter of Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu's entire field of vision was filled with the discernment beast's large nose. It circled around Lin Moyu, its nose constantly twitching, making faint sounds. Lin Moyu joked, what are you smelling? After sniffing for a while, the discernment beast withdrew, I smell the scent of primordial origin treasure material on you. Lin Moyu was slightly startled, primordial origin treasure material. His first thought was of the material given to him by the Golden Lion Great Tao Lord. That material was extremely hard, requiring several strikes from the catastrophic scepter to crack. Part of it was used to summon the elemental lich, which resulted in the Great Tao tribulation. The summoned sword Tao lich even replicated the sword Great Tao and could easily slaughter Great Tao lords. The discernment beast said, yes, primordial origin treasure material. The primordial origin virtual treasures in the hands of great domain emperors are made from primordial origin treasure material. I smell its scent on you. If you can produce a primordial origin virtual treasure, I'll answer your question. Lin Moyu flipped his palm, producing the remaining half of the triangular piece. The triangular piece had been split in half, with the remaining part still triangular. The discernment beast's eyes immediately lit up, its voice becoming excited. It really is primordial origin treasure material. Having already used it to summon the sword Tao Lich, this material was now dispensable to Lin Moyu, so he decided to exchange it for a more valuable answer. The discernment beast carefully accepted the material, cradling the small piece in its palm as if it were a priceless treasure. The material was small and delicate, forming a stark contrast with the discernment beast's large palm, creating an interesting visual effect. After admiring the triangular material for a while, the discernment beast said softly, "Not bad, not bad. It's a high-grade primordial origin treasure material. Well then, I'll explain in detail about world wills. I've already told you about the classification of world wills. Now let's talk about their levels. If you want to deal with a world will, you first need to understand which level it's at." The discernment beast began a systematic explanation from start to finish. Its explanation was very organized, clearly the result of countless years of compilation. In Lin Moyu's view, the discernment beast's answer was extremely important, far more valuable than any primordial origin treasure material. Through the discernment beast's words, he fully understood what kind of existence he would be facing. World wills can be divided into 5 stages: chaos, spirit gestation, formation, shaping, and eternity. When a world is first born, the world will already exists. At that time, the world will only has instincts and no wisdom. It instinctively creates numerous rules, and everything in the world follows these rules. Later, living beings appear in the world. When these beings understand the way of cultivation, know the existence of laws, and finally comprehend the great Tao, they become aware of the world will's existence. Throughout this process, the world will remains in a chaotic state. This is an extremely long stage. According to the origin continent's time, it can last from tens of millions to billions of years. When the quantity and quality of living beings in the world meet the requirements, plus some special opportunities, the world will can progress from the chaos stage to the spirit gestation stage. This is a long process, but faster than the chaos stage. However, it still needs to be measured in tens of millions of years. Most importantly, to progress from the chaos stage to this stage requires some special opportunities. This opportunity might be a treasure brought back by a powerful being in the world, or something suddenly falling into the world, either from the real world or the soul void. In short, it needs some additional opportunity. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3731, 3731. Chapter 3731, Methods to deal with the world will. When a world will is about to enter the spirit gestation stage, the number of powerful beings and great Taos in the world has usually reached a certain level. There are inevitably great Tao lords, and some may have even entered the origin ancestral land during their Tao Venerable stage, gaining deep insights into the great Tao. After becoming great Tao lords, they grow stronger through multiple great Tao contests. A few great Tao lords may develop their own ideas and desires, no longer satisfied with being projection great Tao lords. They want to become true body great Tao lords, leave the world, enter the returning origin land, and achieve eternal existence. However, becoming a true body great Tao lord is extremely difficult. An easier method is to first become the world's master. Becoming the world's master can also be considered eternal existence, and allows one to use the power and fate of an entire world for oneself, then advance to even greater heights. At this stage, the world will faces 2 possibilities. One is that a great Tao lord becomes the world's master, erasing the budding intelligence of the world will and replacing it. The other is that the world will succeeds in developing intelligence before the great Tao lord, entering the next stage, formation. In the formation stage, the world will fully develops intelligence, though it may still be weak at this point. This weakness is relative. At the level of world wills, one that has just formed is still weak. But for beings within the world will is the most powerful existence. Even great Tao lords cannot oppose a newly formed world will. In the origin continent's first era, the era of the insect race, the world will had just completed formation when it suppressed the insect race and buried that entire era. The formation stage also takes millions of years, as the world will needs to coordinate the power of the entire world. During this stage, the world's form changes along with the world will. The 4-armed tribe's world will that we saw earlier was in the formation stage, which is why its form was so peculiar and different from most worlds. Formation doesn't refer to any specific form. In the later stages of formation, the world will can change the world into various forms and evolve all kinds of shapes. Finally, when the world will can freely manipulate all powers, it enters the next stage, shaping. At this point, the world will can shape the world into any form it desires. The origin continent is at this stage, but to hide its existence, the origin continent's world form looks no different from the vast majority of worlds. In the shaping stage, the world will's power greatly increases again. It can use all the great Tao powers and the strength of all living beings in the entire world, and its power is almost limitless. Undeniably, world wills at this stage are extremely powerful. The origin continent entered the shaping stage in its second era. When the strongest of the Buddhist race tried to break free from the world will at that time, they were immediately suppressed without any chance to resist. Among the first 4 stages, the shaping stage is the strongest, but also the most difficult to grow further. After reaching the shaping stage, for the world will to strengthen further, it can no longer rely solely on itself. It needs to devour external power. Like great Tao lords engaging in great Tao contests, what the world will needs to devour is other worlds. This includes the great Taos and fate of other worlds. Great Taos can enhance power, while fate can cultivate more powerful beings. To devour other worlds also requires the great Tao lords of one's own world to go out, search for, and attack other worlds. The world will is like a king, and the cultivators within the world are its army. As the world will devours more and more great Taos and fate, becoming increasingly powerful, it may eventually reach a limit and step into the next stage, eternity. This is also the cruelest stage. The world will sacrifices the entire world, including all living beings and every blade of grass and tree, to ultimately achieve its own eternal existence. Listening to the discernment beast's description, Lin Moyu's brow furrowed deeper. He further realized the immense power of world wills. The 4-armed tribe's world will was only in the early formation stage, as evident from the world's incomplete form which had clearly just begun changing. Even at this level, Lin Moyu couldn't defeat it, let alone the origin continent. The origin continent's world will had long since entered the shaping stage, like an infant grown into an adult, its power unimaginably greater. According to the discernment beast, if the origin continent's world will face the 4-armed tribe's world will, it could obliterate the latter in an instant. The only limitation is that world wills move slowly. Otherwise, it could conquer in all directions by itself, without needing great Tao lords to act. As for methods to deal with it, the simplest is to overpower it with superior strength. But a world will in the shaping stage is actually comparable to a true body great Tao lord. The discernment beast chuckled. If you could find a few true body great Tao lords, you might be able to deal with it. Lin Moyu laughed lightly. How many eternally existing true body great Tao lords are there in total? And why would they be willing to help me? Who am I to them? The discernment beast smiled. You do have some self-awareness. True body great Tao lords are indeed difficult to persuade, and they're already eternally existing. Unless they bring about their own demise, they won't die, much less take risks. Those fellows are all thinking about how to get their great Taos into the returning origin land, reflecting across the myriad worlds, then finding a way to enter the returning origin land themselves to complete the final leap. So forget about asking them to act. But I do have some other methods here. Lin Moyu looked helpless. You suggested asking true body great Tao lords, then told me not to entertain the idea. Aren't you going to suggest some feasible methods? The discernment beast chuckled. World wills have 2 aspects, virtual and real. Their power is split equally between the real world and the soul void. So to deal with them, it's best to act simultaneously in both the real world and the soul void. This way, they'll have trouble defending both sides. In the soul void, while it's difficult to get true body great Tao lords, you can ask great domain emperors to act. A great domain emperor's power in the soul void surpasses that of a true body great Tao lord. As long as a great domain emperor can hold back the world will in the soul void, your pressure in the real world will greatly decrease. Lin Moyu's eyes lit up. Then how can we get a great domain emperor to act? The discernment beast weighed the primordial origin treasure material in its palm. You can use this. Great domain emperor's primordial origin virtual treasures can absorb primordial origin treasure materials. This is what great domain emperors most want to obtain. As long as you have this, I can help you call a great domain emperor. If you have enough, we might even be able to call several. Lin Moyu immediately asked. Then how does one obtain primordial origin treasure materials? The discernment beast said. In the vacuum zones between great spirit domains, there are virtual real spirit realms which contain treasure materials. However, virtual real spirit realms are rare and not easy to find. Sometimes primordial origin treasure materials fly out from these realms. If you're lucky enough, you might obtain some. Asterisk 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 asterisk. I've started translating memorize. Asterisk 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 asterisk. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3732, 3732. Chapter 3732, I have a secret method. Finally understanding the method to deal with the origin continent's world will, it was similar to what Lin Moyu had thought before. Attacking from both the real and virtual aspects could weaken the world will's power to the greatest extent. For the real aspect, Lin Moyu still needed to continue his efforts. His current accumulation was far from enough, and acting now would be no different from seeking death. As for the virtual aspect, since he couldn't invite true body great Tao lords, he would seek out great domain emperors. One wasn't enough for safety, it would be best to find another. After all, unlike the four-armed tribe's world will, which was just in the formation stage, a great domain emperor could completely suppress it. The origin continent's world will had already reached the shaping stage, and was quite powerful within this stage. Even a great domain emperor couldn't guarantee a stable victory. If two great domain emperors could join forces, then there would basically be no problem. The discernment beast also promised Lin Moyu that as long as he could obtain enough primordial origin treasure materials, it could help Lin Moyu recruit people. It was familiar with the great domain emperors. Lin Moyu bowed to the discernment beast. Then I'll trouble you, senior. I will do my best to search for treasure materials, and I will also seek out the former Lord of Hell. The discernment beast nodded. You don't need to rush. Your world experienced a catastrophe before. Those two were called the Black Blood Realm and the Heavenly God Realm, right? The world wills of those two worlds fought with your world will. Although your world will won, it was also injured and hasn't fully recovered yet. It still needs some time. It's full of confidence in this era and won't easily destroy this era. Lin Moyu said, I understand. I will be careful to hide and try not to be detected. Lin Moyu naturally understood the discernment beast's reminder. Currently, the origin continent's world will hadn't fully recovered. Although it was powerful, once injured, its recovery was also extremely long, also needing to be measured in tens of millions of years. The previous battle with the Black Blood Realm and Heavenly God Realm appeared on the surface to be a battle between cultivators from several worlds, but the true core was a struggle between world wills. Those two worlds had truly approached the origin continent, their world wills taking form and engaging in a real great battle with the origin continent's world will. In the end, it concluded with the origin continent's victory, and the two worlds retreated with heavy injuries. However, the origin continent didn't fare well either. Its world will fell into slumber and has only now begun to slightly awaken. It still needs considerable time before it fully recovers. As long as he was careful enough not to be discovered by the world will, there would be no danger. Although the world will viewed the living beings within the world as ants, it still relied on these ants to achieve eternal existence. Therefore, while the ants still had value, the world will wouldn't easily eradicate them. Lin Moyu asked, where did the Black Blood Realm and Heavenly God Realm escape to? The discernment beast's eyes narrowed slightly. Are you planning to cause trouble for them? Lin Moyu said, I have a plan. I want to use the Black Blood Realm and Heavenly God Realm. After all, we are connected by karma, which makes it more reasonable. The discernment beast chuckled. It should be that you all have a plan, right? If you want to rely on those few great Tao lords, I advise you to forget it. It's almost impossible to achieve. Although the Black Blood Realm and Heavenly God Realm were heavily injured, they're not something you can deal with. Lin Moyu said, I understand, but I still have to try. The discernment beast said, these two worlds have both left the Golden Furnace Great Soul Domain. They paid a considerable price for this. I don't recommend you go find them now. It's best to let fate decide. After encountering the four-armed tribe's world will, Lin Moyu also knew that his current self was far from qualified. He changed the topic. I have another question here, Senior. Please tell me, is there any way for a great Tao Lord to successfully occupy other worlds and become the world's master? The discernment beast said with a hint of playfulness, why would you think I have a method? Lin Moyu said, because of the Lord of Hell. He was able to successfully become a world's master. Senior must have played a significant role. The discernment beast laughed. Did I let something slip? Lin Moyu shook his head. Not at all. I've always been bold and like to make wild guesses. It seems I guessed correctly this time. Lin Moyu naturally wouldn't guess blindly. When talking about the Lord of Hell earlier, the discernment beast's expression told Lin Moyu that it had a part in the Lord of Hell's successful escape and finding a suitable world in another great spirit domain to become its master. In fact, it could be said that a large part of the credit belonged to it. So Lin Moyu could judge that the discernment beast must have a method to help someone become a world's master. The discernment beast played with the primordial origin treasure material, you guessed right. For the sake of this treasure material, I'll tell you this answer for free. I have a secret method that can put the world will into a semi-dormant state, greatly increasing the chances of success. But this secret method has limitations. Either the world will hasn't entered the formation stage, or the world will has been beaten into slumber. Also, when I use this secret method, the consumption is extremely great. The discernment beast gave Lin Moyu a knowing look, and Lin Moyu immediately understood. If he wanted to ask for its help, he would need to pay a price. The price was primordial origin treasure materials, which both great domain emperors and true body great Tao lords desired. In other words, according to his plan, to make the third ancestor and others become the masters of the Black Blood Realm, the most important step was to beat the Black Blood Realm's world will into slumber. This point alone was very difficult. If accomplished, then he could ask the discernment beast to help occupy the Black Blood Realm and become its master. Although the Black Blood Realm wasn't as good as the origin continent, it had countless years of accumulation. Once becoming its master, one could manipulate all the power of the Black Blood Realm and compete with the origin continent. Of course, the Black Blood Realm alone wasn't enough. In Lin Moyu's plan, the Heavenly God Realm, Lizard God Realm, and others all needed to be involved. The third ancestor, Mo He, Beast Emperor, Ouyang Wenchen, and Shen Chen, these 5 people should each occupy a world. In the real world, combining the strength of these 5, they could battle the origin continent's world will. In the soul void, they would borrow the power of great domain emperors for suppression. This way, the chances of victory would be higher. This was a life or death battle. Who told him to walk a path no one had ever walked before? He must break free from the control of the origin continent's world will. If others were willing to be dogs, perhaps they could survive, but he couldn't. Lin Moyu bowed to the discernment beast. When I have made all preparations, I will come to ask for your help. The discernment beast chuckled. Good, I'll be waiting for you. After bidding farewell to the discernment beast, Lin Moyu rode on Little Python and entered the chaotic mist. After Lin Moyu left, the discernment beast suddenly spoke. My lord, do you think my answers were appropriate? A white-robed old man appeared to the side, leisurely drinking tea, as if he had been there for a long time. In fact, he had been there all along, but Lin Moyu never discovered him. The white-robed old man offered a cup of tea to the discernment beast. Not bad. Here's some leaf tea as a reward. Thank you, my lord. The discernment beast was overjoyed and immediately inhaled the tea. Then it squinted its eyes, showing an expression of extreme enjoyment. Its aura constantly surged. This unassuming cup of tea increased its power by 3 large increments. After digesting it, the discernment beast immediately took out the spiritual flowers, world fruits, and other items it had obtained from Lin Moyu earlier and respectfully handed them to the white-robed old man. The white-robed old man accepted these things. Didn't you want to refine a virtual treasure before? I see the materials are almost enough. Bring them all here, and I'll help you refine it. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3733, 3733. Chapter 3733, Sitting on a Treasure Mountain Without Knowing. The white-robed figure's words filled the discernment beast with joy. It quickly rushed into its house and brought out a pile of materials. There were quite a few materials, over 100 in total, all emitting a similar aura. They were all primordial origin treasure materials. The white-robed elder sipped his tea and chuckled. It seems you've collected quite a bit. The discernment beast said with a hint of flattery, "How could this small amount catch your eye, my lord?" This was already its accumulation over countless years. Primordial origin treasure materials weren't easy to find, and it had collected these one by one. Being able to find this many was already not bad. The white-robed elder said, "Tell me, what kind of treasure do you want to refine?" The discernment beast said, "My lord, you previously helped me refine a treasure that could enhance my hearing ability. It allowed me to hear more clearly and visualize what I heard as if seeing it with my own eyes. But a few times, I encountered some powerful world wills that could block my listening." So, the discernment beast's essence was listening. This was an awareness deeply ingrained in its soul since its birth. Just like how world wills wanted eternal existence and virtual beasts wanted to transcend, it was all the same principle. When its ability to listen was blocked, the discernment beast felt very uncomfortable. Its status was extraordinary, commanding respect throughout the soul void, and it faced no dangers. Moreover, with its strength, even if there were small dangers, it could handle them. So the treasure it wanted was still related to listening to the myriad worlds. The white-robed elder nodded. "All right, I'll fulfill your request." The white-robed elder flicked a few drops of tea from his cup, which suddenly expanded into a lake. All the primordial origin treasure materials entered the lake, and the solid materials began to melt upon contact with the water. The discernment beast watched in amazement. "My lord, your artifact refining method is truly astounding." The white-robed elder shook his head. "No need for flattery, just watch carefully. Perhaps you'll gain some insights." The discernment beast immediately watched obediently. After the materials melted in the lake water, their various attributes were revealed. Then the lake water began to refine them, quickly washing away the various attributes until only the fundamental Great Tao essence remained. The white-robed elder explained, "For primordial origin treasure materials, the most precious part isn't their attributes but the unique Great Tao essence. The so-called special characteristics are just manifestations derived from the Great Tao essence." The white-robed elder discarded the various attributes of the materials, using only the most essential essence for refining. The materials, now only essence, merged together without any conflict, quickly forming into a small ball. After the small ball was fully formed, the white-robed elder waved his hand, and the lake water rapidly poured into the ball. At the same time, numerous patterns appeared on the ball's surface, making it exquisite and beautiful. A vast and noble aura emanated from the ball, indicating its extraordinary nature. The white-robed elder tossed the small ball to the discernment beast. "This is the myriad world sphere. Holding this, you can continue to listen to the myriad worlds without being detected by world wills. Also, if one day the heavens and earth collapse, you can hide inside this sphere to avoid calamity." The discernment beast was startled. "Will the heavens and earth collapse?" The white-robed elder said, "It's hard to say. Anything is possible." As he spoke, the white-robed elder's gaze swept towards the chaotic mist, precisely in the direction Lin Moyu had left. The discernment beast suddenly realized that whether the heavens and earth would collapse might be related to Lin Moyu. The white-robed elder said, "Considering your years of service to me, I've given you this life-saving item. Listen and do as you're told, and I won't mistreat you. Even if the heavens and earth collapse, you won't die." The discernment beast immediately knelt respectfully. "This humble beast will certainly obey my lord's words. Whatever my lord says, this humble beast will do." The white-robed elder smiled slightly, very satisfied with the discernment beast's response. He muttered to himself, "Sitting on a treasure mountain without knowing, it's a pity. I hope he realizes early and succeeds this time." Through the chaotic mist, Lin Moyu faintly sensed a powerful aura. This aura came from the direction of the discernment beast, which was doing something unknown. "It feels a bit like a primordial origin virtual treasure. It seems primordial origin virtual treasures aren't exclusive to great domain emperors. There's a reason why senior discernment beast is transcendent in the soul void." Lin Moyu felt that the discernment beast's status was even higher than that of great domain emperors. He flew for a while in a certain direction within the Dragon Lake small spirit domain, arriving at the location of the world that the Soul Heart King had previously found. The world barrier was still there. Lin Moyu wanted to enter but found himself blocked outside. This world didn't allow anyone to enter. Lin Moyu tried to communicate with the Soul Heart King but received no response. According to Senior Discernment Beast, the Soul Heart King should now be in the spirit gestation stage. The spirit gestation stage required considerable time, though the exact duration was hard to say. Let's go, Lin Moyu signaled Little Python to leave. He took out the jade slip given by the discernment beast and began to examine the information within. He needed to leave the Golden Furnace Great Soul Domain to search for the Lord of Hell. Between Great Spirit Domains, there were also vacuum zones, which were more dangerous than those between Small Spirit Domains. The vacuum zones between Small Spirit Domains had dangerous areas created by the collision of Great Taos. Some of these dangerous areas were visible, while others appeared suddenly and were hard to predict. However, for Lin Moyu, with the Ice Jade Lotus platform, he could directly freeze Great Tao power, so he disregarded the vacuum zones between Small Spirit Domains. Yet the border areas between Great Spirit Domains, though also vacuum zones, were entirely different. There, the Great Tao collisions were more intense, creating space-time rifts that penetrated both the virtual and real worlds, merging the yin and yang aspects of the Great Taos to form a small number of virtual real spirit realms. In these virtual real spirit realms, the virtual and real were indistinguishable, making them extremely dangerous. But where the yin and yang of the Great Taos intersected and the virtual and real were chaotic, primordial origin treasure materials appeared. On this journey, Lin Moyu not only needed to go to the World Tree Great Spirit Domain to find the Lord of Hell but also to accumulate primordial origin treasure materials. As for danger, Lin Moyu wasn't afraid. He had already chosen the most difficult path, so what was there left to fear? Passing through one small spirit domain after another, Lin Moyu had long since placed the Ice Jade Lotus platform beneath him. With it, he traversed the vacuum zones between small spirit domains as if walking on flat ground. Along the way, he encountered a few small spirit domain kings who didn't know their place. Lin Moyu didn't show mercy and directly annihilated them. The five-element giant, controlled by Xiao Shang, displayed astonishing combat power, easily slaying small spirit domain kings. The only drawback was that the five-element giant was slow and not good at pursuit. If a small spirit domain king wanted to escape, the five-element giant couldn't do much about it. However, Lin Moyu used the Thousand Paths and Myriad Images formation in combination, first trapping then killing, which made it easier. With these two trump cards, if he encountered Great Tao Lords again, it wouldn't be as troublesome as before. He could directly slay them. Unfortunately, the Sword Tao Lich couldn't be used freely. With its ability to replicate the true body of the Great Tao, the Sword Tao Lich could probably match a true body Great Tao Lord in a short time. In other words, the Sword Tao had the ability to contend with a world will in the formation stage. However, the warning from that existence still remained, so Lin Moyu didn't dare to act recklessly and could only use it as a trump card. Finally, the two arrived at the edge of the Golden Furnace Great Soul Domain, where a giant rift appeared in their view. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3734, 3734. Chapter 3734, Reincarnation. An endless, boundless beast abyss stretched before them like a scar across the soul void. This beast abyss was incomparably larger than any Lin Moyu had seen before. There are many beast abysses, but generally each great spirit domain has one main beast abyss located in the vacuum zone outside the domain. The main beast abyss is extremely vast, extending across half of a great spirit domain. The beast abysses within great spirit domains are branches of the main one. These branches mostly appear in the vacuum zones between small spirit domains, and occasionally within small spirit domains themselves. Previously, Lin Moyu had limited understanding of beast abysses, only knowing what the Soul Heart King had told him. Even the Soul Heart King, who had lived for countless years, wasn't entirely clear on the matter. This time, through the information provided by the discernment beast, Lin Moyu learned that beast abysses exist in this particular way. 9 primordial origin virtual treasures divide the soul void into 9 regions, forming 9 great spirit domains, each possessing one main beast abyss. Seeing it with his own eyes now, Lin Moyu found that the beast abyss somewhat resembled the spirit veins in the origin continent. Of course, it was much larger than the origin spirit veins, stretching for countless millions of miles. Little Python asked softly, "Master, what should we do?" Lin Moyu replied, "No rush, let's wait a bit." Now that the beast abyss had appeared, he needed to leave the Golden Furnace Great Spirit Domain, either by crossing the beast abyss or waiting for it to pass. The beast abyss isn't fixed in one position, it moves along the edge of the Great Spirit Domain. This scar-like feature of the soul void constantly changes its location. Similarly, the Great Spirit Domain also moves, in an unknown direction. Different Great Spirit Domains sometimes draw closer, sometimes move apart. Today, going in this direction and crossing the vacuum might lead to the World Tree Great Spirit Domain. Another day, going in the same direction might lead to a different Great Spirit Domain. But no matter how they move, the Beast Abyss always maintains a certain distance from the Great Spirit Domain, neither too far nor too close. The vacuum areas between Great Spirit Domains are vast, but strangely, as long as one keeps moving in one direction, they will inevitably reach some Great Spirit Domain without getting lost. This is a marvelous structure. Lin Moyu tried to construct this structure in his mind, thinking it might be useful for his own Great Thousand Worlds. As he pondered, several skeleton generals had already flown out and entered the Beast Abyss. Activating his undead eye, Lin Moyu observed the Beast Abyss through the perspective of the skeleton generals. The Beast Abyss was boundless and unfathomable, stretching endlessly downward. Legend said there was a formation at the bottom of the Beast Abyss that could lead to the real world. When virtual beasts reach the first-tier soul level, they hear a call from the Beast Abyss. Some virtual beasts enter the Beast Abyss and disappear. Even great domain emperors who enter never return. The discernment beast also refused to speak about the Beast Abyss. Lin Moyu summarized what he knew about the Beast Abyss and analyzed it based on what he saw. Without realizing it, the skeleton generals had flown very deep, and their connection with Lin Moyu became tenuous. Suddenly, a wind blew from the depths of the Beast Abyss, and in the undead eye of the skeleton generals, numerous soul flames appeared. Lin Moyu frowned, seeming to have seen something. Before he could get a clear look, the breeze arrived, and the skeleton generals were annihilated in the wind, leaving not even dust behind. What a terrifying wind! Lin Moyu could sense how strong the power in the wind was, yet the skeleton generals died silently, their connection completely severed with no possibility of revival. Lin Moyu's expression turned thoughtful. It had been a long time since something like this had happened. However, it wasn't completely without gain. At least he had seen some strange scenes and had some peculiar sensations. At the bottom of the Beast Abyss, countless soul flames burned fiercely. These soul flames were very strong, most of them being first-tier soul virtual beasts. What were these massive numbers of virtual beasts doing at the bottom of the Beast Abyss? Moreover, in that gentle breeze, Lin Moyu had sensed a trace of vitality from the real world. This discovery confirmed Lin Moyu's earliest judgment about the Beast Abyss. The Beast Abyss seemed to truly be connected to the real world, otherwise where would that vitality come from? The aura of the soul void and the real world are completely different, with a very obvious distinction. In all his time in the soul void, he had never felt the aura of the real world. Even when burning the world's origin core, though the other side of the core was the real world, no aura from the real world had ever leaked through. This showed that there was an invisible barrier between the real world and the soul void. But the appearance of real-world vitality in the depths of the Beast Abyss suggested that this invisible barrier had been broken. The legend in the soul void that the Beast Abyss could lead to the real world seemed to be true. As he pondered, more skeleton generals flew out and plunged into the Beast Abyss, trying to investigate further. This time, Lin Moyu observed more carefully, not missing any detail. After flying for quite a while, he again saw the massive soul flames, most of which were first-tier souls. He once again sensed the vitality from the real world, followed by the gentle breeze that instantly annihilated the skeleton generals. Lin Moyu didn't stop, repeatedly sending skeleton generals. Each time the result looked the same, seeing soul flames, then being inexplicably annihilated by a gentle breeze. Little Python didn't know what Lin Moyu was doing. Lin Moyu didn't explain, and it didn't dare to ask, just quietly watching. Gradually, Lin Moyu's gaze grew brighter, and his expression changed slightly. After sacrificing many skeleton generals, he finally made some discoveries. The first-tier soul virtual beasts in the Beast Abyss were queuing up, moving in a fixed direction. The virtual beasts were very orderly, with no chaos, as if an invisible force was constraining them. Besides the queuing virtual beasts at the bottom, he also saw new virtual beasts entering the Beast Abyss. Unlike the skeleton generals, these virtual beasts weren't scattered by the gentle breeze but successfully reached the bottom. This discovery reminded Lin Moyu of his Great Thousand Worlds, where the World Tree branches served as channels connecting the skeleton hell and the Great Thousand Worlds. With this reference, thinking about the problem became simpler. The Beast Abyss was a channel connecting the real world and the soul void. This clarified the origin and destination of virtual beasts. When living beings in the real world die, their true spirits don't dissipate but enter the soul void, becoming virtual beasts under the influence of the soul void's power. When virtual beasts grow to a certain level or die, they enter the real world, becoming living beings again, forming a cycle. First-tier soul virtual beasts are in a perfect state. They enter the real world through the beast abyss because they have gained sufficient foundation and soul void aura. In the real world, this translates to sufficient fate, allowing them to become geniuses in the real world. Ordinary virtual beasts that die have their true spirits re-enter the real world, becoming ordinary living beings. But both methods cause them to lose memories of their previous incarnation, starting anew as blank slates. There are exceptions in this process. Some true spirits become small spirit domain kings, seeking other ways to enter the real world, not wanting to start from zero repeatedly. Living beings in the real world become great Tao lords, wanting to transcend. Countless complex situations intertwine, ultimately forming a system that seems chaotic yet is orderly. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3735, 3735. Chapter 3735. Master is the best. Lin Moyu recalled a saying he had heard in his previous life: the great Tao has 50 paths, heaven controls 49, and man escapes with 1. In the past, he couldn't understand the meaning of this phrase, but now he could grasp some of it. The great Tao establishes rules, and most of the time, everything is fixed. For example, in the Destiny Great Tao, although there are variables in everyone's future, the final outcome doesn't change. The vast majority of existences in the world follow the rules set by heaven and earth, completing their reincarnation within the Destiny Great Tao, cycling endlessly, unaware of their state. However, heaven and earth haven't blocked all paths. For all things, there is always a way to defy heaven. The man escapes with 1 refers to all things in heaven and earth, not just humans. The 1 doesn't mean there's only one path, but rather many paths that ultimately converge into one. Whether it's transcendence or becoming a true body great Tao Lord, the goal is eternal existence, with all paths returning to one origin. All cultivators, world wills, and virtual beasts are pursuing this, 1, including Lin Moyu himself. The existence of the beast abyss is a channel between the real and virtual worlds, a place where the two worlds connect. What the Soul Heart King had said before wasn't wrong. However, only virtual beasts can enter the beast abyss. Any outsider who enters will certainly die, even great Tao lords are no exception. The great domain emperor who entered the beast abyss probably didn't die, but likely entered the real world. With a great domain emperor's cultivation and fate, they would surely become an extraordinary figure in some world after entering the real world. Lin Moyu, reflecting on his insights, said softly, all things have their own path. Only by persisting on one's own path can one reach the end. Little Python didn't quite understand Lin Moyu's words. Even though it was about to become a second-tier virtual beast, it was still somewhat confused. Most virtual beasts are like this, living in a daze without much thought. Little Python was already considered extremely intelligent among virtual beasts. The Soul Heart King had a special ability to understand people's hearts to some extent, which allowed him to constantly gain insights from other beings' thoughts, gradually becoming smarter. Beings like the Soul Heart King are rare among virtual beasts. As the beast abyss moved, its edge gradually came into view. Lin Moyu flicked out a fire line to indicate the direction. Lin Moyu asked, Little Python, when you become a first-tier soul, do you want to enter the beast abyss or become the king of a small spirit domain? Little Python seemed to sense something. Master, what exactly is below the beast abyss? Lin Moyu smiled. It seems you want to enter the beast abyss. Little Python quickly said, No, I'm just curious. Lin Moyu said, If I'm not mistaken, there is indeed a passage to the real world below the beast abyss. However, once you enter, you won't be yourself anymore. Little Python let out an, oh, clearly not understanding the meaning of Lin Moyu's words. Lin Moyu explained, after virtual beasts enter the beast abyss, their intelligence is erased, memories lost, only retaining their souls before entering the real world to complete reincarnation. If you go in, you'll have to start from scratch. But first-tier soul virtual beasts that enter will likely become cultivation geniuses in the real world. Do you still want to go? Little Python wasn't stupid and immediately understood the implication. No, I won't go. What's the point if I lose all my memories? How is that any different from dying? Lin Moyu said. Indeed, without memories, it's a completely new life. Even if the body and soul remain unchanged, everything is actually different. In his view, memories were the most precious thing, containing past joys and connections with friends and family. If even memories were lost, a body and soul were just empty shells. Little Python said, then I'd rather be a small spirit domain king. Master, just give me a virtual treasure when the time comes. Lin Moyu laughed. You're so thick-skinned. Little Python replied. Little Python isn't thick-skinned, it's just that Master is too good. Lin Moyu had many primordial virtual treasures, many of which he couldn't use himself. Giving one or two to Little Python wasn't a problem. Moreover, considering Little Python's years of service as his mount, Lin Moyu wouldn't mistreat it. Lin Moyu said, all right, when the time comes, you'll become a small spirit domain king. Then we'll find a suitable world for you to become its master, just like the Soul Heart King. Little Python was overjoyed. Master is the best. Following the fire line's guidance, Little Python circled around the beast abyss and officially entered the vacuum zone between great spirit domains. As soon as they entered, Lin Moyu immediately sensed the difference. Though both called vacuum zones, the differences were significant. Here, the great Taos were more intense, even somewhat volatile. The power of the great Taos constantly collided, spreading throughout the entire vacuum zone. Entering this place was like entering a fireworks display of great Taos, with great Tao fireworks bursting everywhere, extremely brilliant. As a virtual beast, Little Python couldn't see the dazzling display caused by the collision of great Tao powers, but it could feel that this place was uncomfortable. If not for Lin Moyu, it would never have come here. Little Python said, Master, it's very uncomfortable here. Lin Moyu replied, that's normal. The great Taos are very chaotic here, but don't worry, there's no danger. When great Tao powers collide and directly explode, it's actually not very dangerous. The most dangerous situation is when the collision doesn't result in an explosion, but instead the power continues to accumulate, eventually forming a dangerous area. Little Python heeded Lin Moyu's words, enduring the discomfort as they flew further and further. Lin Moyu activated the Ice Jade Lotus platform, freezing all the great Taos along the way, forming an ice road through the vacuum zone and completely suppressing the danger. At the same time, he searched for virtual real spirit realms. Besides looking for the Lord of Hell, he also wanted to find primordial origin treasure materials. If he encountered a virtual real spirit realm, Lin Moyu planned to enter and take a look. The vacuum zone was vast and desolate. Lin Moyu traveled for an unknown length of time, enjoying many brilliant scenes along the way. Some explosions of great Tao power were extremely powerful, even capable of tearing tiny cracks in the soul void space. From a pure power perspective, they were no weaker than a great Tao Lord's full-strength attack. Even great Tao Lords might be injured if they encountered such a situation. Lin Moyu relied on the Ice Jade Lotus platform to temporarily freeze the great Tao power, allowing him to pass through safely. He thought of the Black Blood Realm and suddenly understood the meaning behind the Discernment Beast's words. When the Black Blood Realm left the Great Spirit Domain back then, they must have paid a considerable price, even with the protection of their world will. For a world to pass through the vacuum zone, it would have to constantly endure the bombardment of great Tao powers. It was like countless great Tao Lords and first-tier souls constantly attacking the entire world. Even with the protection of a world will, it would be very troublesome, let alone for an injured world will. However, the fact that the Black Blood Realm survived was already the best outcome. If they hadn't escaped, once the Origin Continent's world will recovered, it would have been their demise. Suddenly, a faint light appeared ahead. Lin Moyu's vision wasn't particularly sensitive to this light, as the area was already filled with brilliant firework-like displays. But for Little Python, this faint light coming from the darkness was very noticeable. It immediately said, Master, there's something ahead. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3736, 3736. Chapter 3736, The Virtual Real Spirit Realm. This time, it was Little Python's turn to lead the way instead of Lin Moyu giving directions. Lin Moyu asked, "Little Python, what do you see?" Little Python replied, "A ball of light, not very bright, about 10 meters in diameter." This was from Little Python's perspective, which differed from what Lin Moyu saw. There are many strange phenomena in the soul void. Soul bodies like Lin Moyu who come from the real world sometimes see things differently from virtual beasts. Neither view can be said to be definitively correct. From their own perspectives, what they see is valid. For example, the light Little Python saw was about 10 meters in diameter and not very bright. But because it couldn't see the dazzling collisions of great Tao powers in the vacuum zone, this dim light appeared very inconspicuous to it. However, what Lin Moyu saw was quite different. Lin Moyu saw a vortex about 1,000 meters in diameter, trailing a long thin tail like a worm moving through the vacuum zone. Countless great Tao powers merged into the vortex, causing it to display various colors. This highlighted the difference in their perceptions. Lin Moyu sensed a peculiar aura from the vortex, the intermingling of virtual and real. It seemed that within the vortex, reality and illusion coexisted. "So this is the virtual real spirit realm," Lin Moyu murmured, realizing the vortex before him was the entrance to the virtual real spirit realm. Little Python said softly, "Master, I sense it's very dangerous inside." Lin Moyu replied, "Your feeling is correct, it is quite dangerous." Little Python cautiously asked, "Are we still going in?" Seeing its timid demeanor, it clearly didn't want to enter. Lin Moyu couldn't help but smile. "You can stay outside and wait for me if you want." Little Python's eyes lit up briefly, but then it shook its head vigorously. "No, Little Python must stay with Master." Its tone was resolute, ready to face death without fear. Lin Moyu saw right through it. "You're just afraid you'll die faster if left out here, right?" Though exposed, Little Python's face remained thick. "No, no, Little Python truly wants to protect Master." Lin Moyu said, "Then stop talking and let's go in." Little Python's body trembled as it asked quietly, "Master, are you really sure you want to go in?" "Stop wasting time, let's go." With Lin Moyu's stern command, Little Python finally mustered its courage and charged in with a loud cry. As soon as they entered the vortex, Little Python's body began spinning uncontrollably, pulled deeper into the vortex by an invisible force. Little Python panicked, wanting to cry out but unable to make a sound. Lin Moyu remained calm, sensing the force pulling them forward. This force came from the Great Tao, but didn't belong to any specific Great Tao. It was refined, pure Great Tao power without any impurities. The Great Tao power was complete, different from other Great Tao powers. It had both yin and yang aspects, with the virtual and real intertwined. Lin Moyu didn't resist, allowing the chains formed by the Great Tao power to pull him along. After spinning for several minutes, they finally emerged from the vortex into a special space. Lin Moyu immediately stabilized himself in midair as they entered like meteors. Nearby, another figure crashed to the ground like a meteor, creating a crater. Little Python lacked teleportation experience and had lost all sense of direction after spinning for minutes, unable to control itself. Lin Moyu noticed changes in Little Python's body. As a virtual beast, it had scales but was always in a semi-transparent state, not truly real. But now, Little Python's scales became real, looking almost indistinguishable from an actual python in the origin continent. Little Python struggled out of the crater. Given its level, such an impact wasn't too damaging. It immediately sought out Lin Moyu's position, zipping over to dutifully resume its role as his mount at his feet. It knew very well that being Lin Moyu's mount was the safest place to be. "Master, is this the virtual real spirit realm?" it asked. Lin Moyu nodded, surveying their surroundings. "Indeed, it's quite different." The virtual real spirit realm was filled with various great Taos, each appearing calm unlike the constant conflicts in the outside world. Here they were condensed but not dispersed, balanced in yin and yang. Cultivators couldn't absorb or refine them, nor gain insights from them. In other words, the great Taos here couldn't be used for cultivation. In the sky was a transparent barrier, beyond which strange scenes constantly appeared. The images were blurry, seeming to show mountains, seas, and countless living beings. After observing for a while, Lin Moyu understood what the scenes beyond the barrier represented. They were projections of a real world. This place was called the virtual real spirit realm because virtual represented the soul void while real represented the real world. The virtual real spirit realm was actually a space located in the crevice between the virtual world and the real world. That's why the great Tao's passing through it possessed both yin and yang aspects. The workings of heaven and earth, truly miraculous, Lin Moyu sighed in admiration. If this world had a creator, the virtual real spirit realm certainly wasn't its doing, but rather the result of the natural evolution of the great Tao. It was like how a creator might make an ocean, but wouldn't concern itself with each individual bubble on its surface. Little Python suddenly asked, "Master, what are you looking at?" "Nothing, just observing our surroundings," Lin Moyu replied. He knew Little Python probably couldn't see the scenes beyond the barrier. It likely didn't even realize the changes to its own body, as the intermingling of virtual and real here temporarily gave it a hint of reality. Lin Moyu sent out numerous skeleton generals to scout the virtual real spirit realm, following his usual approach to exploring new domains. They would search for potential dangers and map out the overall situation. As for himself, he remained cautious and alert, not rushing into action. For virtual beasts, entering the virtual real spirit realm was indeed very dangerous, as there were many things they couldn't perceive until it was too late. But for Lin Moyu, being able to detect dangers in advance naturally reduced the risks. The skeleton generals began mapping out the terrain of the virtual real spirit realm. There were mountains and rivers, all formed by the interweaving of great Tao powers. The earth came from the earth great Tao, while the rivers came from the water great Tao. But the rivers were strange, having no source. It was as if the great Tao power suddenly evolved into rivers that simply appeared. The land was similar, extending into the distance before suddenly ending. The land would disappear, becoming a void, then fire would appear not far away. The various great Taos in the virtual real spirit realm didn't conflict. They evolved independently, creating unique and serene landscapes. In one area, a volcano was erupting. Directly above its crater was a large mass of water. When the volcano erupted, the great Tao power passed right through the water mass without any conflict, as if they didn't affect each other at all. The usual incompatibility between water and fire had completely vanished here. The skeleton generals reported back that in the distance, ice rain was falling. The falling ice chunks disappeared midair before reaching the ground, vanishing after falling only a few dozen meters. All sorts of bizarre scenes could be witnessed here, the entire spirit realm permeated with an otherworldly beauty. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning struck. The earth split open, seemingly actively avoiding the lightning. Then, a giant cloaked in lightning emerged from the crevice, roaring as it charged towards Lin Moyu. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3737, 3737. Chapter 3737, Little Python would die for Master. Facing the sudden attack of the lightning giant, Little Python had no reaction, as it couldn't see or sense it at all. Lin Moyu pointed his finger, and a giant finger shadow appeared in the void, slamming into the lightning giant. The lightning giant was instantly blasted away, its body shattering and disappearing. Only then did Little Python ask curiously, "Master, what happened?" It had no idea why Lin Moyu suddenly attacked. Lin Moyu said, "The dangers here are invisible to you, so don't worry about them." Since it couldn't perceive them, there was no point in wasting words explaining. Little Python responded with an, "Oh," and said straightforwardly, "I'll just listen to whatever Master says." The appearance of the lightning giant was like the opening of a grand show. Suddenly, the virtual real spirit realm was filled with brilliant lightning, evolving into countless lightning giants. The skeleton generals were attacked one after another. This kind of attack was troublesome for virtual beasts as they couldn't see where it was coming from. But for the skeleton generals, it was child's play, easily dealt with. The lightning giants were just appetizers. Lin Moyu could feel that the great Taos in the virtual real spirit realm had started to move, beginning to deal with him as an outsider. After a wave of lightning passed, massive waves surged from all directions. The waves had no source, coming from everywhere and appearing in every corner of the virtual real spirit realm. The waves were slightly stronger than the previous lightning giants, but still not a problem for the skeleton generals. The skeleton generals raised their swords, cutting through the wind and waves, slicing the waves to pieces. Little Python asked curiously, "Master, I think I hear the sound of water." Lin Moyu replied, "That's right, we're under attack now." Little Python let out an "ah," and asked, "Is it dangerous?" Lin Moyu said, "Hard to say. Little Python trembled in fear. Hard to say, could mean anything, but clearly Lin Moyu didn't want to elaborate. The waves were destroyed and turned back into great Daos. For a moment, everything was calm. Then the fire great Dao erupted, raining fire from the sky. Flames poured down like waterfalls, their power increasing once again. This time, the skeleton generals struggled to cope, with many being injured by the flames. There were many great Daos in the virtual real spirit realm, each eruption of power stronger than the last. Lin Moyu's brow furrowed slightly. If this keeps intensifying without limit, we'll be in big trouble. He realized he needed to find a breakthrough, otherwise they'd be too passive. He sent out another batch of skeleton generals, along with Legion commanders and dragon riders. The Legion commanders controlled the dragon riders to act as meat shields, covering the skeleton generals as they explored the virtual real spirit realm. After the fire rain continued for a while, it finally subsided. Then a great wind began to blow in the spirit realm. The wind great Dao began to display its might. The gale was like knives, its power stronger than before. The skeleton generals were blown about, their bodies cracking and bones shattering. The Legion commanders continued to use the dragon riders as shields and meat shields. The Legion commanders had the ability to heal their subordinates' injuries. As long as the dragon riders weren't instantly killed, the Legion commanders could heal them. The damage and healing of the dragon riders gradually balanced out, and the explored area of the virtual real spirit realm expanded further. Lin Moyu felt a sense of urgency. If this continued and the great Dao power increased a few more times, his undead army would no longer be able to withstand it. If he couldn't find a way to break through by then, he might really die here. Even if he could be reborn, it would be useless, as he would still be in the virtual real spirit realm, only to die again. This place was a death trap for him too. The undead army continued exploring, rapidly expanding the map in his mind. Suddenly, a sharp wind slipped through the protective circle, hitting Little Python's tail. Little Python let out a strange cry as its long tail was severed. The most terrifying thing was that from start to finish, it hadn't felt anything at all. It immediately retracted its tail. How scary. Lin Moyu shook his head and said, the truly scary part hasn't come yet. Little Python let out an "ah," and immediately looked crestfallen. Master, we're not really going to die here, are we? Lin Moyu said. Hard to say. The more he said this, the more afraid Little Python became. But Little Python still gritted its teeth and said, Little Python believes in Master. Master definitely won't let Little Python die here. Lin Moyu shook his head. That's hard to say, I might use you as a meat shield. Little Python looked at Lin Moyu with tears in its eyes. Master is so kind, you definitely wouldn't do that. The wind suddenly stopped, and golden light filled the sky and earth. The metal great Dao manifested, transforming into countless weapons forming a storm of blades. It swept in from all directions, its power increasing once again. The Legion commanders controlled the dragon riders to resist the attacks. Cracks appeared all over the dragon riders' bodies, the rate of injury exceeding the Legion commanders' healing speed. Finally, some dragon riders shattered under the impact of the great Dao. Once the first fell, more followed, with more and more dragon riders shattering. But new dragon riders immediately took their place. The shattered dragon riders revived at the appropriate time. The Legion commanders controlled the rhythm, managing the revival times. Though the Dragon Rider Legion seemed to suffer heavy casualties, in reality, not a single one had truly died. After the metal Great Dao subsided, Lin Moyu's heart sank. One more round, and the Great Dao impacts in the spirit realm would likely reach the level of a first-tier Soul Great Dao realm. Given the number of Great Dao impacts, the Dragon Riders probably couldn't withstand it. The earth rumbled and shook, with countless cracks appearing. Stone men glowing with yellow light emerged from underground, rushing towards the Dragon Rider Legion. The number of stone men was astonishing, no fewer than the Dragon Riders. The two sides clashed fiercely, with the Dragon Riders falling behind in numbers for the first time. As soon as the collision began, many Dragon Riders shattered, but they quickly revived and rejoined the battle. The skeleton generals charged out, not joining the battle but rushing towards the distance, continuing to explore the virtual real spirit realm. Exploring the virtual real spirit realm was the key to solving the problem. If they couldn't explore it thoroughly, fending off this wave of attacks would be useless, as the next wave would be even harder. Little Python couldn't see the stone men formed by the Earth Great Dao. In its eyes, the Dragon Riders, who were more powerful than itself, were constantly shattering. The invisible pressure made little Python afraid. If even the dragon riders couldn't withstand it, wouldn't it die even more miserably? It noticed that its master's expression didn't look good either. Though terrified, it still gritted its teeth and said, "Don't worry, master. Unless little Python dies, it absolutely won't let anyone harm you." Lin Moyu chuckled. "Good, if there's real danger, I'll use you as a meat shield." Little Python gritted its teeth. Little Python would die 1,000 deaths for master. It was very clever, knowing that the more it said this, the less likely Lin Moyu would be to abandon it. Lin Moyu suddenly changed his expression and turned, pointing to the side, "Fly that way, full speed." Little Python didn't hesitate, suddenly accelerating forward. Countless stone men rushed over. Lin Moyu simultaneously activated the Ice Jade Lotus platform, scattering ice to freeze the great dhows. Many stone men were frozen, falling from midair. Lin Moyu had been holding back on using the Ice Jade Lotus platform, saving the best for last. Using it earlier would have been meaningless. With the ice clearing the way, little Python continued to accelerate, its body like a stream of light moving through the virtual real spirit realm. Lin Moyu suddenly shouted, "Stop!" Little Python screeched to a halt. It finally saw something, the first thing it had seen since entering the virtual real spirit realm. A dark red piece of wood. Note: regarding the origin ancestral land, the returning origin land, and the realms of great Tao lords, I've put that information in the work-related section. You can check it out if you're interested. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3738, 3738. Chapter 3738, Slaying Life, Death, and the Great Tao. A dark red piece of wood about the size of a washbasin was connected to all the great Taos in this virtual real spirit realm. Lin Moyu could sense that it was constantly emitting a unique aura in layers, causing the great Taos that passed through to quickly become calm. It was this piece that was organizing all the great Taos and controlling them. Little Python asked, "Master, is this what we're looking for?" Lin Moyu nodded. "That's right, a primordial origin treasure material." Little Python curiously asked, "What's a primordial origin treasure material? Is it powerful?" Lin Moyu said, "It's on the same level as the primordial origin virtual treasures held by great domain emperors." Little Python let out a, "Wow!" with shining eyes. "That's amazing." Lin Moyu nodded. "Now let me see how to deal with this thing." He didn't approach it, but instead activated the Ice Jade Lotus platform, attempting to freeze it. The cold energy from the Ice Jade Lotus platform was special, not belonging to any great Tao, so it naturally wasn't controlled by this treasure material. Even small spirit domain kings could be frozen, so Lin Moyu thought this treasure material would also be affected. Suddenly, the treasure material reacted. Numerous great Taos transformed into whips, dispersing the cold energy with crackling sounds. The great Tao power traced back to its source, causing the Ice Jade Lotus platform to vibrate several times before falling silent. The transparent barrier in the sky cracked, and a large amount of aura from the real world descended, falling onto the treasure material. The treasure material emitted a red light, and a dark red giant quickly took shape. Lin Moyu's expression changed as he realized what the treasure material was doing. It was drawing in the aura from the real world, completing the fusion of virtual and real, then merging with the great Taos to evolve a spirit. The treasure material, as the core, merged with the great Taos. Its aura grew increasingly powerful, with the pressure it emitted alone surpassing that of a great Tao lord. The massive aura pushed the two of them away. They could only watch from afar, unable to approach. Little Python trembled in fear. This time it finally saw clearly, its eyes filled with terror. Suddenly, a small spirit appeared within the treasure material. An artifact spirit. Lin Moyu was surprised. This was just a material, not a treasure, yet it had produced an artifact spirit. This showed how high the level of the treasure material was, increasing Lin Moyu's interest even more. However, he also noticed that although a spirit had been born within the treasure material, it wasn't a true artifact spirit. Its eyes were vacant and empty, clearly lacking intelligence. It only had instincts, viewing all who entered the virtual real spirit realm as enemies. Such a spirit, no matter how much time passed, would never develop true intelligence. A monster composed entirely of great Taos appeared before Lin Moyu. It had a form resembling both a tiger and a deer, with thick fur and a long tail. Even though it was just evolved from great Daos and not a true living being, it still felt very real, completely different from virtual beasts. Lin Moyu frowned. This monster seemed familiar. A thought struck him, and his expression turned to surprise. A primordial beast. He recalled the primordial beasts he had seen in the small world long ago. Why would he see a primordial beast here? Do the primordial beasts in the small world have another origin? Or is this also arranged by the green-robed old man? Lin Moyu couldn't hide his shock. At this moment, his mind was in turmoil, something outsiders couldn't understand. Little Python said with a crying tone, "Master, that thing is so scary." Lin Moyu's gaze focused slightly, and the small and cute sword Dao Lich appeared before him. The sword Dao Lich, now free from its lightning shackles, happily called out as soon as it appeared, "Master, what are your orders?" Lin Moyu said, "Kill it." The sword Dao Lich had been warned not to attack great Dao lords, but nothing was said about not attacking a treasure material. Without hesitation, the sword Dao Lich transformed into a sharp sword and flew towards the monster. The true body of the sword Great Dao it had copied appeared, causing the Great Dao to rumble incessantly, almost shattering the entire virtual real spirit realm. The primordial beast-like monster let out a roar, its fur suddenly growing longer. Each strand of fur was a Great Dao, lashing out like swords and whips. The sword Dao Lich didn't show any mercy. Lin Moyu heard its angry shout in his mind, "Slash!" A sword light flashed, and all the whips were cut off simultaneously. The sword Dao Lich had copied the true body of the sword Great Dao, possessing power no different from the true body of the sword Great Dao itself. Although the treasure material controlled many Great Daos, they were all a chaotic mess compared to the sword Dao Lich's power. The treasure material's monster let out a shrill cry, clearly dissatisfied that its Great Daos had been cut off. The ground split open, and countless stone men charged out again, but this time they rushed towards the sword Dao Lich. Thunder rumbled in the sky, and a lightning giant appeared, much stronger than the previous lightning giants. Then waves surged and volcanoes erupted, with water giants and fire giants appearing as well. Not only that, but various great Daos evolved into all sorts of creatures, all charging towards the sword Dao Lich. The sword Dao Lich let out a disdainful snort. Sword light exploded, and countless swords shot out from the sword Great Dao, tearing all the evolved giants to pieces. Then, a giant sword appeared in the sky, slashing down towards the primordial beast evolved by the treasure material. The sword light surged, shaking the spirit realm. The virtual real spirit realm was torn open with a huge gap, the barriers in the sky shattered, and the ground completely split apart. Little Python was dumbfounded. It knew the sword Dao Lich was strong, but didn't expect it to be this powerful. Not just Little Python, even Lin Moyu was surprised. The power displayed by the sword Dao Lich was no less than that of the four-armed tribe's world will. If not for the restrictions placed on it, they could have used the sword Dao Lich to deal with the four-armed tribe's world will back then. Unable to kill great Dao lords naturally meant it couldn't kill world wills either, so Lin Moyu hadn't even considered using the sword Dao Lich at that time. The monster created by the treasure material using great Daos was also shattered by the sword light. The treasure material was struck by the sword light and flew off into the distance with a bang. Lin Moyu said, "Don't let it escape." The sword Dao Lich transformed into a stream of light and flew out, calling out, "Don't worry, Master, it won't escape." The sword Dao Lich quickly caught up with the treasure material, slashing out several times in succession, forcefully cutting it back. The treasure material was sturdy enough that the sword Dao Lich's attacks couldn't damage it. However, the spirit inside the treasure material was howling in anger, the entire material radiating hatred. Lin Moyu waved his hand, and the world-burning fire blazed fiercely. Though the sword Dao Lich couldn't cut through the treasure material, it didn't mean the world-burning fire couldn't burn it. For dealing with such spirits, the world-burning fire was the best choice. Sure enough, as soon as the treasure material touched the world-burning fire, the spirit inside began to scream incessantly. This kind of spirit, which couldn't even be considered a true artifact spirit, had no resistance against the world-burning fire. Lin Moyu pointed his finger, and a void-sealing divine rune flew out. The thousand paths and myriad images formation within it descended, enveloping the treasure material. Now it would just take some time to wear down the spirit and obtain the treasure material. Although the virtual real spirit realm was very dangerous for virtual beasts, and even small spirit domain kings might die inside, for Lin Moyu, the danger wasn't high and was relatively easy to deal with. The sword Dao Lich returned to its cute doll-like form and circled around Lin Moyu. Master, wasn't I amazing? Lin Moyu smiled. Of course you were amazing. We owe this success to you. The sword Dao Lich looked smug. That's right. In the future, Master can call on me anytime. We'll help Master slay life, slay death, and slay the great Dao. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3739, 3739. Chapter 3739, There's Something Ahead. The primordial origin treasure material was trapped in the Thousand Paths and Myriad Images formation, burning in the world-burning fire. Its ability to filter great Daos had completely failed. No matter how much it screamed, it was to no avail. There was no escape. When it had great Daos to control and manipulate, utilizing the fusion of virtual and real, it could exert power in the soul void surpassing that of a great Dao Lord. But once it lost that environment, it was far inferior to a great Dao Lord. A material is just a material, even if it develops a spirit. Unless it can truly produce an artifact spirit, it has no chance of truly taking form and becoming a formidable existence through its powerful true body. But for now, it couldn't do that, and was easily suppressed and destroyed. Under the scorching of the world-burning fire, its cries grew weaker and weaker until they completely disappeared. The treasure material that had been struggling fell silent, no longer showing any movement. The spirit inside had been burned to ashes. Looking through his undead eye, Lin Moyu confirmed that the spirit within the treasure material had been completely burned to death. However, he didn't immediately remove the formation, but let the world-burning fire burn for a while longer, just to be safe. After all, the level of the treasure material was too high. No one could say for certain whether the spirit born from such a thing might have some hidden abilities, so it was better to be cautious. After burning for quite some time and confirming there was no movement from the treasure material, Lin Moyu finally removed the formation and withdrew the world-burning fire. Taking the treasure material in hand, it was a dark red piece of wood about the size of a washbasin, unexpectedly heavy. Even Lin Moyu felt some strain holding it. Normally, a soul body shouldn't feel weight, but he did now. Lin Moyu knew this was the weight brought by the Great Dao. The Great Daos in the virtual real spirit realm were converging towards the treasure material. Holding it felt like supporting the entire virtual real spirit realm. This piece of wood gave Lin Moyu a different feeling compared to the triangular material given by the Golden Lion Great Dao Lord before. The triangular material didn't have an obvious yin-yang virtual real feeling, but this piece of wood had a strong sense of it, indicating that its level was slightly higher. Lin Moyu examined the dark red wood, turning it over and looking at it from all angles. He felt it should also be part of some treasure. Where exactly do primordial origin treasure materials come from? Those primordial virtual treasures are all incomplete. Primordial origin treasure materials seem to have fallen out of some treasures as well. What exactly is going on? Even with his knowledge, he couldn't figure it out. Lin Moyu recalled the scene he had witnessed when he became a small spirit domain king and merged with the small spirit domain. That exquisite palace that had exploded, he couldn't help but think that the primordial virtual treasures had all been blasted out of that palace. They should all have originally belonged to some being. I can't figure it out. Lin Moyu sighed lightly, no longer dwelling on it. His level wasn't high enough. No matter how much he thought about it, it wouldn't help. He took out the catastrophic scepter and gently tapped the dark red wood. Bang! With just a light tap, a thin crack appeared on the treasure material. The entire virtual real spirit realm shook violently, and countless cracks appeared on the barrier in the sky that reflected the real world. Then Lin Moyu struck a second time. More cracks appeared on the treasure material, and the same happened in the virtual real spirit realm. Not only did cracks appear on the barrier, but also on the ground, and even in the surrounding space. The virtual real spirit realm existed because of this treasure material. If the material was shattered, the realm would naturally collapse. Lin Moyu had a thought, and a void-sealing divine rune flew out and expanded. The five-element giant appeared in response. Xiao Shang called out loudly, "Master, what are your orders?" Lin Moyu said, "Help me guard." Without hesitation, Xiao Shang extended its large hands, closing them to form a protective grasp around Lin Moyu and Little Python. Only then did Lin Moyu continue to strike a third time. Cracks spread densely, and the treasure material looked like it was about to collapse. The virtual real spirit realm shook more and more violently. Fourth strike, fifth strike. After 5 strikes, the treasure material split in half with a bang. The great dows it had been drawing instantly fell into chaos, exploding like dynamite. The entire virtual real spirit realm shattered, and the great dows ran wild. As the virtual real spirit realm collapsed, Lin Moyu instantly returned to the vacuum zone. At the same time, an extremely violent great Dao storm erupted in the vacuum zone. The 5-element giant stood firm in the great Dao storm, all its formations flashing. Many formations were damaged or even collapsed in the storm, but the main structure remained intact. A moment later, the great Dao storm ended, and Lin Moyu breathed a sigh of relief. It was good that he had the foresight to anticipate something like this happening and called out the 5-element giant. If he had faced this great Dao storm himself, he might have died several times. As for Little Python, it would certainly have died completely. Little Python flicked its tongue. It's all thanks to Master, otherwise it would have been dangerous. Lin Moyu smiled slightly. The treasure material in his hand had been split in two. He put away one piece and continued to hold the other in his palm, with the immortality fire emerging from his palm to envelop the material. Summon the elemental lich. The reason Lin Moyu split off part of the treasure material was to summon an elemental lich. Then he began to draw divine runes to repair the damage to the 5-element giant. The 5-element giant's damage wasn't severe, and it was fully repaired in just half a day. Lin Moyu smiled and said, "Thanks to Xiaoshang this time. We might need you to guard again next time." Xiaoshang called out loudly, "I would die 1,000 deaths for Master." Compared to the spirit without intelligence in the treasure material, an artifact spirit like Xiaoshang was truly invaluable. After recalling Xiaoshang, they continued on their original path. Before entering the virtual real spirit realm, Lin Moyu had already had the skeleton generals line up in the vacuum to serve as directional markers, guiding him in case he lost his way. The Ice Jade Lotus platform continued to emit cold energy, freezing the great Dao powers, allowing Lin Moyu to move through the vacuum zone as if strolling through his own backyard. The treasure material in his hand showed no change in the immortality fire. Lin Moyu wasn't in a hurry, the material's level was too high, and summoning an elemental lich would take time. Lin Moyu hadn't expected it to be so easy to enter a virtual real spirit realm this time. The difficulty of obtaining primordial origin treasure materials was lower than he had imagined. He hoped to encounter several more virtual real spirit realms and obtain more primordial origin treasure materials. Finally, after several days, the treasure material being used began to show signs of melting. I wonder what kind of lich will be summoned this time. I guess there will be another great Dao tribulation. The fact that it can attract a great Dao tribulation indicates that the level of primordial origin treasure materials has reached the pinnacle of heaven and earth. Such pinnacle materials clearly showed signs of artificial refinement, having shattered from various treasures and fallen here. There must be a reason behind this. Although he couldn't figure it out, Lin Moyu knew that the reason behind primordial origin treasure materials must be a huge secret concerning the great Daos of the entire world. If he could unravel it, perhaps he could fully see the entire world, including both the real world and the soul void. The treasure material slowly melted in the immortality fire, the melting speed very slow. It would still take some time to burn completely. Lin Moyu wasn't in a hurry. He continued along the planned route while searching for new virtual real spirit realms. At this point, Little Python would be of great use. It was easier for it to find that faint light in the pitch-black vacuum zone, while Lin Moyu's view was filled with dazzling displays, making it very difficult for him to search. After several more days, the treasure material was about to melt completely when suddenly Lin Moyu's brow furrowed. "Stop." Little Python immediately stopped. "Master, what's wrong?" Lin Moyu looked ahead. "There's something in front. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up, go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3740, 3740. Chapter 3740, Encountering the Primordial Beast Again. Little Python immediately looked over, its vision better than Lin Moyu's in the pitch-black vacuum zone. It faintly saw a shadowy outline. "It's just an outline, not very clear," Little Python called out. Lin Moyu could see a bit better than Little Python. A primordial beast was flying towards him, its speed reflected in the brilliant display of great Daos. Lin Moyu's brow furrowed. As the primordial beast approached, its outline became clearer. Lin Moyu couldn't help but exclaim, "A primordial beast. To be precise, it has the appearance of a live beast. Since he didn't know its true identity, Lin Moyu referred to it as a primordial beast. It looked exactly like the primordial beasts he had seen in the small world and recently in the virtual real spirit realm, but this one was stronger and larger. The primordial beast charged towards Lin Moyu, and he sensed a will locking onto him, specifically onto the primordial origin treasure material in his hand. It's been attracted by the treasure material. Lin Moyu thought that the reason the spirit from the treasure material had taken the form of a primordial beast was because it was referencing the primordial beasts in the vacuum zone. The primordial beasts in the vacuum zone and the small world look identical, which is no coincidence. In the small world, I saw that primordial beasts were hard to kill. It was actually foretelling some of their characteristics. Lin Moyu realized that to kill a primordial beast in the small world required using laws, so in this place, he would need to use great Daos, and not just any ordinary great Daos, but extremely powerful ones. Lin Moyu's thoughts raced, and he activated the void-sealing divine rune. Xiaoshang once again controlled the five-element giant to engage in battle. Lin Moyu knew that if he used the sword Dao Lich, he could probably defeat the primordial beast. However, he wanted to test the five-element giant's combat experience this time. He had been thinking about how to further enhance the five-element giant. The sword Dao Lich had many restrictions, including the elemental lich summoned this time, which would likely have limitations as well. The five-element giant, however, had no such restrictions. Improving the five-element giant would greatly benefit him. Lin Moyu also had another idea about the sword Dao Lich. He wanted to bring it back to his own world and replicate the complete sword Great Dao, integrating it into his own world. Of course, it couldn't be simply integrated. Lin Moyu's ambitions went far beyond that. He wanted his own world to surpass the one he was currently in. The sword Great Dao could be merged into his world, undergoing multiple evolutions to become his own sword Great Dao. This was Lin Moyu's pursuit. Because of this, Lin Moyu didn't want to rely too heavily on the sword Dao Lich. He needed his own means of defense. Xiaoshang controlled the five-element giant to charge forward and collide with the primordial beast. The impact sent both flying back, evenly matched. The primordial beast was enormous, not smaller than the five-element giant. As they clashed for the first time, they were evenly matched. The primordial beast let out roars, causing the vacuum zone to shake incessantly. The great Daos were distorted and deformed, and the previous brilliance dissipated. Xiaoshang excitedly called out, continuing to control the five-element giant to fight the primordial beast. Lin Moyu observed for a while and roughly judged the strength of the primordial beast. It was stronger than a great Dao Lord, even surpassing someone like the third ancestor, a great Dao Lord of the origin Great Dao. However, it was slightly weaker than the four-armed tribe's world will. It wasn't that great Dao Lords were weak, their strength was in the real world, specifically in their own worlds, which were their main battlefields. In the Soul Void, their power was discounted. Great Dao Lords were still among the strongest figures in the world. Even if they weren't a match, escaping wouldn't be a problem. Lin Moyu analyzed the strengths and weaknesses of the primordial beast. An evenly matched opponent allowed the five-element giant's advantages and disadvantages to be fully revealed, much clearer than when facing the four-armed tribe's world will. Lin Moyu carefully observed and analyzed areas for improvement. His divine rune formations were one of his trump cards. They might be very useful when facing the world will of the origin continent in the future. Due to the limitations of my realm, my understanding of divine rune formations has reached its limit. It's difficult to break through to the next level. However, he could continuously improve them within his current capabilities, making the formations more perfect at their current level. With this idea, Lin Moyu refined his thoughts and found areas where the five-element giant could be improved. The formations that made up the five-element giant were strong but had drawbacks. He thought of the symbol masters in the great world who used treasures to store symbols. When the symbol formation was damaged, the symbols could automatically repair it. Reflecting on this, Lin Moyu realized he could adopt a similar method. In addition to the formations, if he could equip the five-element giant with suitable weapons, treasures, or armor, its combat power could be greatly increased. However, his hypothetical enemy was the world will, so ordinary treasures and armor wouldn't be effective. He needed special, more powerful treasures that didn't come from the origin continent. Using treasures from the origin continent to fight the world will of the origin continent would be pointless. Therefore, he needed to find them in other worlds or refine them himself from his own world. The five-element giant and the primordial beast fought back and forth, their powers not far apart, neither yielding. Both the primordial beast and the five-element giant borrowed the omnipresent power of the great Taos, which was endless and wouldn't exhaust them. This battle could last a long time. Finally, the primordial origin treasure material in Lin Moyu's hand completely melted, and a small elemental lich began to take shape. What will it be this time? Lin Moyu wondered. As the elemental lich was about to fully form, Lin Moyu stepped back to make room for the impending Great Tao tribulation. With the five-element giant holding off the primordial beast, he didn't need to worry. A silvery laughter echoed in his soul. Master! Master! The affectionate call stirred Lin Moyu. He felt a mysterious connection with the elemental lich, accompanied by a strong sense of familiarity. Previous elemental liches had similar feelings, but they weren't as strong. Now, with the elemental lich having gained intelligence, the feeling became even more intense. A cute elemental lich appeared before him, its appearance not much different from the Sword Dao Lich, except its hair was bright red and lacked the sharpness of the Sword Dao Lich. It wore a bright red bib, looking like a little girl doll. Boom! A massive pressure swept in, and a large tribulation cloud appeared in the void. Thunder rumbled, and the surrounding great Taos were dispersed as heavenly punishment descended. The elemental lich rose and entered the tribulation cloud to undergo the great Tao tribulation. No one could help her, she had to face it alone. The tribulation cloud quickly formed, tearing open a rift in the void. A pair of gigantic eyes lit up. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a.